What's going on, guys? It's Matt here from Chill TCG. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the 140 cards that were released for the Japanese set coming up. Single and Rapid Strike Master. This Japanese set will be the majority of the English set that's coming out in, I believe it's March. The Battle Styles set. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at the bulk majority of all these cards that were just announced tonight. So this is fresh off the press. We're here on PokeBeach.com. They got all of the translations for all these cards, so very interested to go ahead and take a look at all the cards here. I'm joined with my friend and professional Pokemon player, Zach Lesage. What's going on, Zach?
Yo, what's poppin', people?
Well, it's popping. So, we have somebody who actually knows what they're talking about here, which will be good when we look at some of these newer cards. I know some of you guys, obviously, you care about what I have to say, but for the people that want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, we got a high level player here to discuss some of these new cards. So I'm ready to get right into it.
Super exciting.
Yeah,
I'm super excited to look at these cards. I mean, I think everyone will mostly agree that our format's been stale for a while.
yes.
Based off the few kind of teaser cards that we've seen, like with the Urshifu VMAX, the new Rapid Strike, Single Strike styles, it should be super exciting to see this seems like kind of a new set for sets to go forward. So, I mean, we've both looked at a few cards of the set, but it's going to be kind of like a fresh look on
Right.
this release, kind of.
Yeah, and I'm excited. So we saw, I think, what was it, like 14 cards that were released a few weeks ago. We did make a video on that, but this time we're going to be looking at pretty much the entire set right now. So I'm ready to get into it, Zach. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm sure too. And if anyone's watching this and they're like, yo, why didn't you cover Cacnea or anything? Kind of our structure for this video is that we're going to be covering the Pokemon that we find are cool. So if you look at it, Cacnea is going to be the first card in the set that we see doing zzz or whatever, however you want to pronounce it. Let me know in the comments below if you know how to pronounce that. 10 damage, 20 damage. We're probably not going to be covering too many cards like that, if any.
Right.
But when it looks to other cards too, we might look at Cacturne. And not to jump ahead or anything to go through it, but just give you an idea of what it is. Cacturne's doing 60 plus 70 damage. We might talk about that for a little bit. It's still not that exciting of a card. So we're probably just going to go back and forth and try to find the more exciting cards of this set, still covering a majority of them. But if there's any cards that you want to get covered, let us know in the comments below, and we'd be happy to give you our opinion on them or kind of our take on them, especially if it's one of your favorite Pokemon or anything like that. We just don't want anyone to feel left out, but sometimes when it comes to these videos, we can spend 5 hours going over the most pointless attacks.
Right.
But we're just gonna get right into the juicy Pokemon.
I agree, man. I am going to start off with Cacturne, though. It's our first sort of stage 1 fully evolved Pokemon. Again, we're not going to take too much time for cards like this, but Cacturne, stage 1, 120 HP grass type. It's got the attack Pull, doesn't do any damage for a colorless. Switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of their benched Pokemon. So I guess that's kind of cool, but I mean, these days so many decks are running 4 of Switch and stuff. It just doesn't seem like a very viable attack. And then a grass colorless Thorny Punch, 60 damage, and if this Pokemon has any dark energy attached to it, does 70 more. Does have a colorless in that attack cost, so I guess you can put a grass and a dark on it, hit for 130. So I don't know, it seems very average.
Yeah, I don't think 130 is going to cut it nowadays. I mean, some single prize card attacking Pokemon decks might be able to use this, especially if weakness becomes a thing. So, I wouldn't entirely sleep on this card, but, I don't know. To me, this seems like a 3 out of 10 kind of thing. If you're playing the build and battle kits, this one might be absolutely busted in there, especially if you toss a few dark energies.
Right.
But beyond that, its retreat cost is poor. Its attack is kind of poor. I think the art style is super cool, but here I think we're going to look a little bit more for the playability instead of the art.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I actually, when I looked through a lot of these cards, Zach, a lot of them have this art style where it's sort of like Crayola. It's kind of like crayon oil painted, which looks cool, but yeah, we're not going to be covering the arts.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's super cool to look at different art styles. I mean, I think there's a lot of cool things going on with Pokemon cards. Even Pokemon on their website shows their favorite drawn cards from time to time. I think there was an article a few months back. It's a big deal, but cards that look pretty don't necessarily mean we're going to see them pop up at your Chill TCG events, or that I'm going to be playing them in the top level tournaments.
Right.
So, I mean, anyways, if you guys want to hear more about the art, let Maddie and I know. We totally love to we play for the people. But I don't know. We'll continue. I mean, I'm looking over here. Durant's
Yeah,
interesting to
Durant's
me.
pretty interesting. Yeah, you want to cover it? You want to go over it?
Yeah, I think Devour is super cool. It's weird because you can only get the 4 Durants in play. There's no way to really cheat another Durant out of your prize card. So if you prize a few, it's going to be kind of a weak attack. But if you put this with, I think the card's what, Curse Shovel?
Yeah, Curse Shovel. Yep.
Curse Shovel, if it gets knocked out, you could just continuously like mill cards from your deck. Obviously, the ban of Bellaba and Bryson Man is going to hurt the playability of a card like this. But I
Yeah,
mean, I think mill seems interesting. This is like one of the more mill
yeah,
control oriented cards we've had in a while.
for sure. Yeah, so for the people that it's kind of small on the screen, but Devour, 2 colorless energy. For each Durant in play, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. So again, at the most you could do 4 cards for this attack, but you have 90 HP. You're probably not living many attacks, and that's only going to get lower and lower each time your Durants get knocked out. Pokemon's kind of phased mill out for the most part with the ban of Babelba and Bryson Man, but they keep printing these sort of mill cards. I think we had a couple in the last few sets that didn't really see a whole lot of play. I think the Toxtricity was one. They keep printing them out,
Yeah,
and I think
that's one that I was gonna say.
I think they want to keep it a thing in the format, but it's just not going to become a very powerful deck archetype like it was. So not much else to cover with Durant here. It's cool. I like mill cards. Very interesting. I hate playing against mill decks, but
Yeah, I think everyone hates playing against mill decks. You look at all the cards that you constructed with your deck, and they just kind of go away. You're like, I put that card in this deck for a reason. Your opponent's like, well, it's in the discard pile for no reason. Um,
right.
yeah, it's kind of awkward.
Okay, so next up, we'll go over Vivillon. It's a stage 2 grass type Pokemon, 120 HP. First attack there, Vital Power. You heal all damage from 2 of your bench Pokemon, so it could be very interesting, I guess, to run maybe 1 or 2 of these in like a VMAX deck focused around grass types. Just fully heal them with this attack that's only costs 1 energy. So I guess that's somewhat viable if you kind of think about it. But Boss's Orders is a thing, and it's not super likely that you'll get hit hard with 2 VMAXs or high HP Pokemon, and then next turn you'll be able to switch into Vivillon and heal them both up. But I guess that could be a very powerful combo. You know what I mean? Realistically, so I kind of like this card. That
it
second
seems like,
attack.
I think
Yeah, go on.
combo to me seems like the word to describe it. And it might be a little bit more like one that's like really casting your net out fire. Because as you said, like which Pokemon are even getting 2-shot in this format? VMAXs, maybe even tag teams. So you'd have to get a stage 2 Pokemon in a deck that's predominantly like large HP basics or whatever, and your opponent would have to like not get around them. I think that Vivillion's kind of just like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
little
not about this card.
it's a little bit too difficult. I think maybe just maybe you could fit this in like a Rillaboom Rowegg deck, because again, Rowegg can accelerate the growth of up to a stage 2 Pokemon in 1 turn, which is interesting. But at the same time, you're going to want to evolve up the Rillabooms first, and then you're probably not going to want to do that twice in a row. You're going to want to start attacking, so it's just a little bit awkward to run Vivillon in decks like that. Rillaboom VMAX doesn't see a lot of play, or Beetle. I guess it could see, you know what I mean? Other grass type VMAX decks, maybe, but it's kind of a stretch. So I'm feeling, again, like a light 3 or 4 for Vivillon. Nothing too crazy.
I mean, I feel like you're being like super nice. I feel like the Cacturn might have been a little bit more playable.
It probably
But
was. It probably
yeah,
was.
we'll have to see it. I mean, again, super cool on the card art. I kind of like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into the card art.
Yeah,
There's so many cards to look over. If I just went over, although I know I'm saying that. Has anyone here seen how derpy Flapple V looks?
Oh my god, I'm looking at this card right now, man. It is the most ugly V Pokemon I've ever seen.
I kind of love it. I want to slap those cheeks, bro.
I just, I don't know, man. Pokemon designs have gotten so random. This might be the last card art that we talk about. I promise. We're not here to talk about the card arts. We're gonna talk about what the playability of them. But yeah, this art is just disgusting, bro. Flapple V, so 190 HP, Zach. It's got 2 attacks. First one for a grass energy. Sour Saliva. 20 damage during your opponent's next turn. The defending Pokemon attacks cost 2 colorless more. So this is actually very interesting. Flapple.
I think it sounds really good.
Me too.
I'm reading it and I'm just like 2 energies more. That's kind of gross. Especially like I know Crushing Hammers kind of grinds everyone's gears right now, and Wonder Slab and other things like that. I mean, we've already seen Billowing Fan release couple weeks ago for this set. So kind of this with an energy denial deck, or even just like in general, I think this attack's very strong, like immediately, like one of the stronger V attacks in the game immediately.
Yeah, especially like at the beginning of the game. I was thinking maybe you play this in a deck just to sort of stall out for decks that kind of take a little bit longer to set up, specifically grass type decks. And if Flapple V's your starting Pokemon, you just attach an energy to it. You just start attacking for 20, and your opponent probably won't be able to attack back for 2 or 3 more turns, right? Unless it's a welder deck, maybe, and then it's probably like 2 turns.
We should also note too that they can use Switch to get out of this. So it's not foolproof at all. I don't want anyone to be in the comments to be like, Zach, you know that Switch is like a 4 of in every single deck. Yes, that's very like clear. I just want it to be like,
right,
I think the attack's cool.
But if they switch, it still affects that Pokemon that they switched out, even if they switch back in, right? So they just have to set up something on their bench, right?
Is that how it works? I'm pretty sure the defending Pokemon is no longer the same Pokemon once they switch out.
Is that okay? I wasn't sure. So,
I'm pretty sure that's how the ruling goes. If anyone wants to let me know in the comments below if however it goes, but I mean I'm pretty sure once you switch to the active Pokemon, any effects that were on that Pokemon are just gone. Kind of like as a quasi like special condition.
Everything. I mean I think that's the same for a lot of cards. So I think that makes sense. That second attack, grass 2 colorless 120, very average. But again, Flapple V does have a VMAX Pokemon, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the VMAX version of Flapple. Again, very derpy art. I said we wouldn't cover it, but hilarious art. This, in my opinion, Zach, is the worst VMAX of the set. It's kind of, in one side I'm happy about it because Orbeetle VMAX is probably still the best grass-type VMAX. But kind of sad that we don't get often a lot of times good grass-type VMAXs. So it's got 320 HP, a retreat cost of 3, weak to fire, no resistance. And that attack there, Zach, Gmax roll 250 and does 10 damage less for each damage counter on this Pokemon. I think it's terrible. I think you could put it in there, Zach, and hit for 250. But the next, like if you get hit by a Zacian, you can't do any damage to this thing. Like you can't.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're finding some way, and I mean, if anyone brings up the Pavilion or anything like that, like we're not playing Pavilion Flapple VMAX, please. But it's one of those things. Like maybe there's a way to move the energies off of it, or I don't know. Like I feel like something like this is just like if the attack was doing 350 damage, I would shut up.
If it was even 300, I think it would be more playable. But
250 is just a little too low. Like when I'm playing Pikarom and I'm hitting for Raichu. Just doing like just Raichu's full blown GX attack, 250 doesn't seem to cut it anymore. And the fact that there's like this extra kind of stipulation on the 250, it's a 250 minus. I honestly don't remember the last time a card that had the minus in its name
was good.
Was good.
Yeah.
And it's I mean I'd love to have a conversation about that if anyone wants to bring that up. If anyone wants to do some fact hunting, that's a good fact hunt. Find the most playable minus attack.
For sure.
And I think that's kind of what puts the nail in the coffin. I think this is a case where the V Pokemon is more playable than the VMAX.
I agree completely. I mean, I see what they're kind of going for. We have things like that Vivillon we touched on. Zarude V completely heals Pokemon with its attack. And then, I guess you could run Malolana and things like that. But this Pokemon, I mean, just the idea of hitting for 250, which, again, right now doesn't even KO a lot of like most tag teams or VMAX Pokemon. And then if you get hit by like one strong attack after this, then you can't do any damage. So, but I understand sort of what this deck archetype is supposed to look like. I just don't think it's going to be very good at all. And it's kind of disappointing to see VMAXs like this. But they can't all be winners. You know what I mean? So
we'll see in the future. There could be something. There's also Appleton that's kind of related to these cards. I know it has nothing to do with this, but in the future, like lore of Pokemon, there's a very good chance that there's like an Appleton VMAX that might work with this card. So I mean, I'm not going to count this card out completely. Flapple's interesting enough that it could be okay, but right now, like as is, it's pretty terrible.
As you say that, it would be cool if we had like a Flapple VMAX like this one, or just this one, and then we had a Appleton VMAX, which was like do 50 damage.
Like an Appleton VMAX. If one of them's your active position or something, heal 80 damage. If it's an Appleton V or a Flapple VMAX,
right? Or
something like
really... Like imagine if it did like only 50 damage. But it was like heal all damage from your Flapple VMAX. Like, and then you could just switch between them every turn, and then just do 250 and then 50. That might be kind of cool. But for right now, it just
Yeah, it's just no,
it's a no, man.
not at all.
Moving on, we'll take a look at Entei. You want to cover Entei for us?
Yeah, Entei, I like its first attack. It's 130 HP, fire energy. For its first attack, doing 30 damage, which I think is fair, and you can attach a fire energy from your hand to this Pokemon. That's really where I feel like the card kind of gets lost.
Yeah.
Doing 90 damage for 3 is really just not up to pace. Like when you have cards like Zacian V doing what 230 damage for 3 energies, burn doesn't matter at that point. Being a single prize card Pokemon doesn't matter. Um, like maybe if you're playing in the build and battle or a pre-release or something like that, again, it's one of those cards. I just don't really see where this card
It'll never.
fits in.
Yeah, it'll never really see any actual play. It cards like these, like oftentimes with these single prize attackers, like they really need to have a really good attack for one energy to make them viable. And you just really can never justify putting 3 energies on a single prize Pokemon to do 90 damage. It's just
Exactly.
Um,
So
playability,
just...
yeah, playability. I'd go 2 out of 10. Art though, I'd go like a 9 out of 10.
yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. I mean, yes, we're gonna lie to everyone about the art that we're gonna be going over or not, but whatever. Here we go with the Entei. I mean, it's popping, it's hot, it's flames.
Emboar.
Where does this bring us?
Emboar.
Emboar?
Yeah.
That's the first single strike card we're seeing in the sets.
Yes.
The single strike and rapid strikes.
Single strike, and this is a cool one. Personally, I think it's a little bit clunky, but the ability is actually really good. Emboar, 180 damage on this fire type stage 2 Pokemon. The ability is Fighting Fury stance. During your single strike Pokemon attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, which is a big boost, especially just sort of keeping this on your bench and doing 30 more damage every time you attack. At least for your single strike Pokemon. I like it. A lot of people, like, this came out alongside that Urshifu single strike VMAX. Zach, do you think that this card will actually see play or have some sort of validity?
I mean, I think this is the type of card that could be absolutely broken, because there's also that mustard single strike. And I know I'm probably going to get confused between the two mustards. I don't know if it's the deck or the discard pile that I can fish this Emboar out. I mean, we'll find out by the end of the set review.
I think it's discard.
Sure. So you pop the Emboar in your discard pile, you kind of whittle around with your hand to play the mustard card, and then you have a plus 30 and you're using your supporter. We've seen cards like this do well in Eviltal decks in the past, maybe about 5 years ago, where they were playing like Archeops, or they were playing other cards just like in general that they can get out with Maxis. So I mean, Archie's decks have done well, Maxie's decks have done well to some capacity. Maybe we'll see mustard decks grab these stage 2 Pokemon out of the discard pile, especially for an ability like Fighting Fury stance. Plus 30 damage is not anything to scoff at. So I mean, I don't think we're going to see a Heat Crash coming out. I think Fighting Fury stance is the only reason why this card's good. And at 180 HP, like, it's not even getting sniped by a Pikarom. It's not getting sniped by a Cramorant.
Right. It's you're gonna have to really try to knock this thing out on the bench, which I think makes it a bit better. I like the idea. Like Urshifu single strike VMAX, I think does like 280, or was it 300? It was something crazy. But I mean, you could have an Emboar on the bench. You could even pop a Leon, and then you're just OHKOing everything in the entire game, which is pretty appealing. It's pretty appealing.
There's also nothing that says that you can't have multiple Emboar out in play as well.
Exactly, which is scary.
So, I mean, even if you think about it, like if you just have a bunch of Pokemon out and then you start attacking with like a Tepig or something like that, Tepig could start hitting for like 110 for 2 energies, and that only scales up. So like, I mean, I don't want to be like, yo guys, let's build a Tepig deck, but it's one of those things where like Emboar on its own, like doing extra damage like that, could be absolutely huge, depending on what type of single strike Pokemon get released. And I mean, as the press release said, there's going to be more single strike cards and rapid strike cards to come. So this is just a card that's going to get better with age.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think if this Pokemon had a attack cost of 3, then I think it actually might be just like good on its own. You just run 4 Emboars, bro, and for a single welder attachment, you're doing 240 damage or something crazy like that. I think that could be pretty.
I mean, there's still triple acceleration and twin energy, so we'll see. Emboar to me is probably the most exciting card we've seen in the sets. This card is probably going to get a 6. For me, if we were to give it any kind of ranking, I think 6 is probably fair.
I like that.
Could always grow with age.
Yeah, I like 6. I like 6. What do we got next? I guess Salazzle. This
So Lazzle.
doesn't look anything too crazy for me. Stage 1, 90 damage or 90 HP. Retreat cost of 1. First attack for a fire energy. Your opponent's active Pokemon's now confused. Doesn't do any damage. Um, and then 2 colorless for its second attack. Taunt and burn, 90 damage, and then does 90 damage 90 for each special condition on your opponent's active Pokemon. This could be interesting if we had like what was it, Hypnotoxic Laser in the format still, but we don't. I don't know.
We have other ways to get special conditions into play though.
Multiple.
Like I'm opening up ptcgo over the video. I think wasn't there like an Aridos or something like that?
I don't know. Again,
it's one of those things where I might be thinking of like way too back. It's hard like when you've been playing Pokemon for like well over 15 years and you just start like you imagine all these cards. I mean, I think if there's a way to kind of cheat special conditions into play, Hypnotoxic Laser would obviously be amazing if we had any kind of access to that. But if you can get into the 3 range, doing 270 damage for 2 energies would be nothing ever to scoff at.
Never. And then with the burn damage, like 280, plus they're paralyzed or confused or whatever it might be, right? So, or poisoned. So, I think there's a lot. I mean, depending on the toolkit around this card, it could actually be very impressive. But off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. A lot of potential.
I can't. Maybe there's something in the sets too.
Yeah, right.
There could be something that usually cards like this come with something else. But I'm gonna search through, see if there's anything good. Like I mean, I think there's the Garbodor and stuff that we have. If there's like a stadium in play, you could even pair it with like the Toxicroak.
You could do like a Garbodor and then play Yellhorn, and hit for 180. Shout out to Yellhorn, but yeah, I think it has a lot of potential, Zach. Off the top of my head, I don't know, what a deck like this might look like, but it's cool to have a Pokemon like this.
Yeah, I think this card's cool. I think it seems like extremely playable as some kind of like this screams budget deck to me.
Yes.
It could be really good. We've seen attacks like this do a lot in the Pokemon TCG in the past. So I mean, I don't want to sleep on this card. Like the one thing that you do got to note, like if you're like Zach, this card's absolutely broken. What are you talking about? You can't be asleep and confused at the same time. You can't be asleep and paralyzed at the same time.
Right. It's got to be
poison and burn stick, always. And then you could choose a 3rd special condition. I don't think you could ever have 4 special conditions on.
You can't.
So you got to factor in that like you'll be doing poison, you'll be doing burn. So you're doing 300 damage with this attack. Because poison and burn seem like the best ones to be doing, because otherwise you're only doing 180. So you're doing 300 damage unless you have any modifiers, for 2 energies. But it's one of those things where you're not ever going to be doing 360 damage. So don't be like, this could knock out a VMAX with a 4th special condition. Unless they release a new one,
right?
We're vibing.
I think there's cards, right, that can inflict conditions on your bench. I think like Amoonguss was one of them. And
Amoonguss might actually be the best one, more and more that I think about it.
Yeah.
That's going to leave your opponent's active Pokemon asleep and poisoned. I don't know if there's a Pokemon that allows you to burn, but Amoonguss here would just be doing 180, 190 damage for 2 energies. That seems kind of huge if you ask me.
It does. I like it. And it's a stage 1 Pokemon. Pretty easy to get into. I like this card. I mean, I like it. I think it's better than the other single prize Pokemon that we've looked at so far. So,
yeah.
I find it interesting. We got to move on, I think. Can't talk about Salazzle.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can't talk about Salazzle all night.
But
no time for the art to talk.
I like it. Electivire. I looked at this one. Next up, Electivire. I looked at this one a bit. It's just, I hate cards like this, Zach. It's just
I agree.
It's like that Tyranitar, I think, from Darkness Ablaze or Vivid even maybe. It just, for like a crap ton of energy on a stage, on like a single prize Pokemon, it does a lot of damage, but it's like, I don't know. It just, they never really work out.
There's no little bit of spice. There's no like, I agree with you. Cards like this should have an ability. Even if the card's not super playable, I think that cards should all be like unique in a way. And I mean, sure, there needs to be a few cards in order to be unique that could be like this card. But this card specifically just means like if I'm pulling it out of a pack online, like this card should never see play in any capacity. Even if like Even if you have one of the bigger YouTubers like Little Dark Fury, shout out to them.
Yeah.
They normally focus on rogue decks. I'm sure they'd even be scratching their heads and being like, "There's no cool effect. There's no cool combo. It's just like vanilla basic 180." And this card's just clearly worse than every other deck. So I mean, this seems like if there was a theme deck or if there was a pre-release kit, um, seems like the type of fodder that you'd be getting in there.
Yeah.
It's probably really great to set up as a stage one in that kind of format. But in anything beyond that, I just don't see how this card is remotely anything.
I think like if you were playing in like a single prize only format, maybe you run this with the Electrode from Vivid Voltage and just run like a turbo Electivire deck. It could be kind of fun, but it's just one of these cards where it's not interesting, it's not very impressive, and I just wish I just wish cards like these didn't really exist. But I mean, I'm not hating on it, right? It's just like it's not a card I would ever use or try to play.
I am hating on it actually, so I'm gonna give it a 0.1 out of 10.
Yeah, I would give it a straight one if I like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on.
So where are we at now? We got Tapu Koko V.
This is one of my favorites, actually. I wanted to talk to you specifically, Zach, as somebody who won the Players' Cup
Okay.
too, with Pikarom. Bolton. We all know that Bolton is an incredible card in that, in that deck. And Tapu Koko V seems very interesting to me, mainly for that second attack. So the first attack, you do 40 damage. It is what it is. But the second attack, Zach, Spiral Thunder for 3 energy, 2 lightning, and a colorless. Does 20 damage, but 40 more for each energy attached to all of your... it's all of your opponent's Pokemon. I didn't know that. That's my bad. Originally, when I read this, Zach...
Yeah, so fine.
Yeah, originally when I read this, I thought it was all of your Pokemon.
That'd be huge.
And that would be huge,
absolutely
right?
Huge.
Because then it could just hit for like 270 like turn 2 with Pikarom, or turn 3. So, now I feel a little bit less good about it now that I read it like that. But it's still...
thought about this card like for a Pikarom mirror match, maybe.
Yeah,
because
right.
they'd have a similar amount of energies if they're in any kind of similar pace as you. I just feel like the cost is like a little too high for the attack. I mean, obviously the attack's amazing, especially if your opponent's hitting like just to do a base amount of damage. Let's say there's 7 energies in play, which I think a lot of standard decks would just have 7 energies in play. 7 7 times 4 would be 280, 300 damage for 3 energies, 100 damage per energy, which would be huge. I just think it's going to be really hard to get the energies onto this Tapu Koko V. You'd have to go like into a full blitz,
Right.
or electrify to it. As you said before, Boss's Orders is a card. The HP is probably fine to survive a hit, but it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, Tapu Koko V's, it's not bad. I don't think it's crazy interesting, but
yeah, I wish that its attack was what I thought it was originally. Because then it would be busted. it would be a more powerful attacking Bolton, but it obviously wouldn't have that great first attack like Bolton has. My mind was racing when I first read it, but now, yeah, I find it to be very, very average. I like the original Tapu Koko V better, not because, I think the attack is better on original Tapu Koko V. I like the first one from base set, but I also think Free Retreat is super good right now in the format. And
I agree with you. I don't know where Pokemon's design goes, where like there's a Tapu Koko V that has Free Retreat. So in my mind, I feel like Tapu Koko V, especially like it looks like it's floating. Where does that one retreat come from? If this card had 0 retreat, my eyes would widen a little bit more, and I don't think this card would be broken if it had 0 retreat either.
No, not at all.
So, I mean, I think that this card's it's interesting. I'd sit on it. Might never see any play. Might be one of the best cards in the format. Because it does have a Tapu Koko VMAX.
It does, but I'm not too high on the Tapu Koko VMAX. You want to cover that for us?
I mean, I feel like I like the Tapu Koko VMAX more than I like Tapu Koko V.
I agree.
I mean, I'd say I'm fairly experienced with Pikarom. I did win the Players' Cup 2 with it. So Tandem Shock is a huge portion of that deck. The fact that you could go Max Shock, 180 damage, if you are behind on prize cards compared to your opponent, they're auto-paralyzed every single turn. No switching to the active, no nothing like that. You have a 320 HP Pokemon that is paralyzing your opponent. This card screams comeback potential. It seems like it's going to be difficult to build up. Would this work with that Electro that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, Electrode it works for anything. You just discard, or you knock out the Electrode, and then I think you grab like 2 or 3 energy from your deck and put it on any of your benched Pokemon.
I was
Um,
gonna say like the Electrode would actually really work well with the max shot
oh,
attack.
that's actually so smart because yeah, you're discarding. You make your opponent draw. Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
you could pop like 2 Electrodes,
I'm excited.
and then just have double Tapu Koko VMAX, and then just be like, I'm paralyzing you every single turn, and probably playing Marnie and Crushing Hammer and Billowing Fan.
Wow, Zach,
Um,
you're blowing my
maybe this
mind right
card's
now.
better. I feel like this card might be better than I originally thought, especially with like it's just because you said Electrode earlier for the Electivire, I would have never thought about it.
Electrode is a really good card, man. It just happens to work really well with this one specifically for that poison effect. And you're literally just well, I mean you'd be doing it on turn 2, right? Of course, because Electrode you have to evolve into it, but yeah, I mean it's pretty much an easy 1 turn setup here on this Tapu Koko VMAX, and then yeah, you just you hit for 180 paralysis, and I like it a lot. I think what you just said was actually really smart. And with the paralysis, with hammers and with Marnies and such like that, I think this deck actually could be pretty viable. We don't have, I mean, the lightning decks are very good in the format, Zach, with Pikarom and such, but we haven't really seen a great lightning type VMAX. So, might be interesting to see
No,
a card like this
this might
in
be
the
the
format.
first one.
Yeah,
And kind of like building on that deck idea, you also have access to the Tapu Koko V as well. That's underneath the Tapu Koko V
right,
Max. So you could just
right.
drop another one, and that'd be a really good way to power up Spiral Thunder in a turn, especially if your opponent starts overwhelming you with energies. If we look at the format as it is this week, specifically at the time of filming, Centiskorch V Max is kind of all the rage.
Yes,
And I see Centiskorches with 7 energies in their front, 3 energies in their back,
yeah,
and you just smoke them for so much damage, like 400 damage. So I mean, I think a deck like this actually could be viable. But I mean, obviously we'll have to see what the future beholds. Like we're still waiting on a few. There's still probably going to be a few other cards that trickle into our English set, like Forgotten promos,
yeah. There will be.
stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I think obviously Maddie and we plan to cover everything about this set in the future. Maybe together, maybe separately, but we'll have to see what the whole forefront of the set looks like because we're still a couple months out.
for sure. One thing I do like about this Tapu Koko VMAX is that you have the option of running either of the Tapu Koko Vs in the deck, right? So,
That's really hot too. And the good
yeah,
thing about the older one is that you get the consistency boost. Just drawing a couple cards could save you out of a dead hands.
yeah, especially if you're going second, right? You don't get Bolton or whatever you're running. Yeah, I like it. I think this is a very interesting deck. Actually, you kind of talked me into it. I wasn't very hyped on it, but now, the pieces are kind of coming together, and I think it could be a very interesting deck to play. Right? It might not be like a tier 1 deck, but it could be a very fun deck to play, which I think we need more of right now in the format.
Yeah, I mean, we'll only be able to tell what the format looks like. It sucks that like Urshifu VMAX is fighting type, and that's probably the biggest card that's coming out of the set. So I mean,
Oh, that's true.
I'm not
Yeah,
I'm not gonna hold my breath that this Pokemon is literally weak to fighting. But I mean, weakness guard energy does exist, and there's other ways to get around it. But I guess we can move on to some other cards. I'll let us know if you like this deck idea in the comments below or anything like that.
for sure, man. That might be a video in the future, but I think next up is Bolton, I guess. Well, actually, I mean,
I actually
we can
I
talk
think
about Yamper.
Yamper is actually exciting.
Yeah, because he's got that nice ability. So fetch the ball, Yamper's ability. Once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may put 1 Pokeball, 1 Great Ball, one of each from your discard pile back into your hand. So this could be very good in decks that constantly are looking for Pokemon search, maybe, or like Pokemon searching cards, maybe things like Mad Party or Eternatus or whatever it might be, cards that really are
I
looking
mean,
to.
I don't think you want to put Yamper in Eternatus,
That's true. Yeah, you
uh,
can't do that.
but I mean, definitely for Mad Party. I was literally like waiting for you to say Eternatus just to be like, haha, I'm gonna get you.
No, that's true.
But
You're right.
I mean, I don't. I mean, this card's so cute. You probably want to put it in Eternatus. Like, let's be real.
Just to look at it in your
Um,
hand, you know what I mean?
I mean, I think the ability is cute, but I mean, that's basically all this card is
Yeah.
worth for it. Like, Flop is a weak attack. But the Bolton of the set is also slightly interesting as well.
Yeah, it is. So Bolton, stage 1, 130. That first attack corner for lightning, 30 damage. The defending Pokemon can't retreat. Not super crazy. But that second attack, 2 lightning and a colorless Defiant Spark, 130. And if this Pokemon has any damage counters onto it, this attack only costs 1 lightning. So definitely super interesting. If this was a basic Pokemon with these attacks, I'd be very high up on the card. But overall, I find it to be, it could be an interesting little single prize variant deck. 130 for 1 energy, not too bad. Is there any?
This could work with like the Donphan Spiritomb deck.
You're right, because Donphan does
like
the damage.
That. They do the damage counters. Jinx, Spiritomb, Boltund can move the damage counter to the Boltund. Especially with weakness being involved, I think weakness is a big factor. Doing 260 for 1 is a lot different. So I mean, it's something to consider there. I mean, 1 energy attacking Pokemon, that can just work. I mean, I think it sounds cool. I don't hate it. It's interesting.
It's different. I like it. You know what I mean?
It's better than the Electivire. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess we'll move on. Not much else we can say. Both of those cards are pretty cool, though. I like it. Interestingly, this is like the 5th Boltund card that we've had so far in the Sword and Shield era. We had like 1 in base set, 1 in Rebel Clash. We had Boltund V, and I think we had another one that was printed in another set. So I think this is either the 4th or 5th Boltund we've gotten. But cool Pokemon.
Yeah, it's cool.
I want to talk about Galarian Slowpoke.
Okay.
So doesn't do any damage, but for a colorless, you flip a coin. If heads, you switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. If this was an ability, Zach, I think this card would actually be busted. It's just like a Pokemon catcher that you could keep on your bench every turn, but it's an attack, so it has to be in the active. For that reason, I don't find it to be that good. But it could be kind of useful, I suppose, in decks that try to bench lock a lot with like Absol or Galar Mine or whatnot. But again, like you said, switching is a 4-up in every deck. So
yeah, switching's a 4-up, and there's even the Bird Keepers, Malolana. I did peek through the set a little bit more. Escape Rope has been leaked for a few days, so I mean they just added enough into the format where it's not necessarily one of those things that we want to worry about too much. I mean, the fact that there's a Galarian Slowpoke means that there's probably a Galarian Slow Bro in the set. Maybe it's dark.
I think it's later down the line. I think it's a different typing, but
hold your thought on this, everyone. We'll have to cover that one a little bit later on in the review if one exists.
I thought it was an interesting card. I don't think it's good, but I did want to mention that if that was an ability, that card would be kind of busted. But
yeah,
it's not.
Where are we up? Where are we up at next? Grumpig?
Yeah, if you want to cover it, why not, I guess.
Grumpig is terrible in every capacity. Grumpig reminds me of... I don't even want it, if someone put something in my drink that wasn't supposed to belong is how Grumpig looks.
Yeah, man, I like how its mouth is smirking and he's got his little tongue. I don't know, man.
This looks like a Salvador Dali painting.
This looks like something I drew in art class in 5th grade.
Exactly. This is like a self picture of me.
If you were to draw,
I don't know. Yeah, if I were to draw myself,
so
and fun. Yeah, there's nothing else about this card that we could only comment about the art. I don't even know where it's dancing. That's the thing that's bothering me. It looks like it's a dance floor, but it also, I don't even know.
He's in another dimension, bro. He's in a new world.
Yeah, man. Maybe this is part of the Lentil region for new Pokemon Snap.
The Lentil region, bro. We should make a video on Pokemon Snap. We should make a video on Snap, bro.
I don't know. Let us. I mean, I feel like I always ask questions to the audience as you're watching this, and I don't know if y'all like that or not. Let me know in the comments below. But if you feel like we should make a video about Pokemon Snap, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I mean, I think Maddie and I are both old enough where we grew up with the grimiest Nintendo 64 cartridges.
Dude, I love.
So if you want to watch a video on them,
dude, Snap's one of my original Snap's one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah,
by far.
I'll save us some time here because I know we ran over a little on the Tapu Koko. Chimecho sucks. It's minor error in running, searching for basic energies, making your opponent's active Pokemon asleep. Cards like this are just again, it's pre-release fodder, build and battle fodder.
Yeah, it's again,
It looks super cool. I like the art. There's a lot of art that I like in the set a lot.
I feel like they give all the
Nothing's
crappy cards great art.
the Grumpig, man. If that was playable, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I think we just move on to a card that has an ability, the Meowstick.
Yeah, a little bit more interesting. It is a holo rare. Interesting to note. So going to be a little bit rarer to pull this out of your packs than other cards. But the ability there, ear movement. So once during your turn before you attack, you can move one damage counter from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. I find this to be a little bit interesting. I don't think it'll like break the game at all. Like I don't really see that as seeing too much play. Again, it's kind of a mix between like Jinx and like Zigzagoon in terms of its like utility. But you can't move it from one of your Pokemon to your own Pokemon. It's got to be from one of yours to your opponent's. And I think if you're looking to play this card to get rid of damage counters, like, you might as well just play healing Pokemon. And if you're looking to place damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, you might as well run Zigzagoon.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, unless there's some kind of other Meowstick that works with it, I don't see that this one's going to see too much play. But you never know what the future beholds. I don't know if we have too many abilities like this, so it's at least this card's super not playable. It's not that it's not a unique card.
I think I think that perhaps you could run this card with like Spiritomb and then Sableye, in where you place damage counters onto your Spiritomb, you move that damage counter onto your opponent's Pokemon, and then you attack for more damage each time you do that with Sableye. That's like the only thing I can think of, but that seems super clunky and.
Exactly, it's just adding another stage 1 to a deck like that. So maybe this card will find a home, maybe not.
Probably not. You want to cover Mimikyu for us?
Yeah, Mimikyu. Again with the weird arts. Ability Dummy Doll. You may use this ability once during your turn. You can play when you play this card from your next turn. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. So I mean, it doesn't have to be on the bench to kind of prevent itself from doing damage. There's no current way to get it back in your hand as far as I'm concerned, or at least any reasonable way to get it back into your hand. So there's no way to do like a dummy doll kind of loop.
Right.
It's an interesting ability. I mean, it's an ability like this that can be absolutely broken, or it just means nothing. Envying Eyes is put 3 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has taken. If your opponent has taken 5 prize cards, you could do 150 damage for a single Psychic. To me, this seems like a card that would be good in a single prize card deck, or a deck that could just run Psychic Energies, especially if you get them down to 5 prize cards. You could just drop 150 for a single Psychic Energy. That goes through a lot of things. A lot of damage counters just go through Pokemon that stop VMAX Pokemon. So it's something to consider there.
Yeah.
I think this card's kind of like lukewarm right now.
Of course, Metal Goggles shuts this thing down. I think it is interesting. Again, if this attack was to any of your opponent's Pokemon, not just the active, then I think it would see much more play. Like being able to, at the end of the game, snipe multiple Pokemon on the bench for spreading that 150 counters. I think that could be really cool. It's interesting. We've seen 2 sort of V Pokemon that have this sort of like early game delaying mechanic between Mimikyu and then that Flapple. I guess they're kind of trying to slow the game down a little bit. But for me, this Mimikyu V kind of seems like there should be a VMAX that comes along with it, but there's not.
Maybe we'll see one in a promo box.
We will, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure because Pokemon's have done that multiple times, especially in this set. They've come out with like, you know what I mean, VMAXs for older Pokemon. We'll see another one in a little bit, but yeah, Mimikyu. I don't know.
It's interesting right now. I mean, this seems like a card that's either going to see a lot of play at some point, or it's going to do nothing at all, and there's no in between.
Yeah, personally, I don't see it like for a while at least doing anything impressive. But again, you never know what cards are going to come out in the future, and it's a very interesting card. Like it's something we don't have at all right now in the format. So I mean, I like it for its originality, but I don't like it in general.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I think right now this card's probably a 4 or a 5 out of 10 right now, but it has opportunities to grow, possibly, depending if there's something that allows you to loop Dummy Doll.
Right,
I
exactly.
Think that could be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, I would say about a 3 or 4 right now. Again, it could become busted in the future. We never know. Next up, we have our second single strike single strike Pokemon that we're looking at, Primate.
Okay.
So it's stage 1, 120 fighting type. It does have that single strike sort of mantra to it, that title. First attack for colorless, 20 damage, discard any stadium in play. Could be kind of interesting to discard the stadiums, but for the most part, it's an attack, so I don't find it to be that useful. Second attack, 2 fighting Frenzy Bomb, 50 damage, and this attack does 50 more damage. Or sorry, this attack does 50 damage times, right? So 50 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon with any damage counters on them. This could be interesting.
Each of your bench Pokemon.
Oh, okay. Each of yours. Okay. Okay.
At least that's something that you could probably control a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah. At first glance, I was like, bro, throw this in Orbital, dude. But yeah, no, it's
Yeah, that would be broken if you could play this with Orbital Primate.
it would be nuts,
But
dude. It'd be nuts.
maybe we already talked about Donphan once this video. I think Donphan or Jinx or Spiritomb. This might work really well with Spiritomb. And Jinx, just kind of moving all those damage, swinging for 250. The energy cost might be a little bit difficult to pull off. Is this the one that gets the double energy? No, I think this is the one that gets...
Yeah, it's a single energy, special energy. Yeah, I feel like this is a card that you would technically want to throw in into Spiritomb Donphan, but
probably just going to be Spiritomb Primate at this point, and Spiritomb Primate with Karate Belts and
escape ropes with
something.
Yeah, with what is it called? It's called a Spike Myth, where puts damage counters on.
Yeah, it could be good. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter because like it only goes for your bench Pokemon, so you could just have the Spiritomb sound on the bench and then just move a damage counter or something like that. Because the Spiritombs all do the damage counters to themselves. That's 4, and then you could just put a Jinx down, and that's 5. So I mean, this could swing like later on in the game for a lot of damage. The biggest thing is just like, can you get down another Mankey and something else? I mean, I think an attack like this is cute, doing 250 damage. And then obviously there's damage modifiers that work with it. It's just, I think this is, it falls on a little bit more on the rogue side because you just have to have so many combo pieces to make this work.
Yeah, but I think it could be a very interesting rogue deck, right? There's a lot of cards that could go along with this and potentially, right, if you do get that combo somehow, right, and it all works out well, then yeah, you could be slapping people pretty hard. But yeah, I don't know. It's cool. Again, it's one of those probably like a light 5 for me, maybe a 4 or 5, but I think it's really cool.
I agree with you completely. It's one of those cards where I can't hate it because it brought something unique to the game. It has a cool attack, has some kind of cool mechanism. We can already come up with some deck ideas, but they're pretty weak deck ideas that can probably be taken apart easily. So
all right.
The one good thing that it does have going for it is that it is a single strike Pokemon.
Right.
But
right.
we'll just have to see exactly what that means in the future. So what does that mean we're on now? Gliscor?
Gliscor, yep.
And I think that's about as far as we're gonna get for Gliscor.
Yeah.
With an attack like Guillotine, you'd think that it'd be like chopping your opponent's head off. But it's doing 90 damage apparently. Yep. So
first attack,
I say
20 damage, flip 2 coins, 40 more for each heads. So at the most, you're doing 100 damage for 2 colorless. If you flip 2 heads, sounds absolutely terrible. If it's a big if.
I like that it's kind of like a gargoyle on top of like a thing. I mean, all the worst cards we could talk about their arts seems kind of cool there, but
yeah, that is cool.
I say we move on to Colossal, which I think is our next. I like Colossal.
Look at that art, bro. Wow, look at that art. Yeah, okay.
This doesn't look like a Pokemon. This looks like it could be like a Magic card or something.
It does look like a Magic card. You're right. Okay, so Colossal here. Stage 2 Pokemon, 180 HP, weak to grass, retreat cost of 4. First attack, Coal Cannon, 90 damage. Flip a coin for each energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 90 damage for each heads. That's kind of busted if you think about it. For 1 energy, potentially, you have the option to use this attack. If you have a lot of energies onto it, or if you have 4 energies, you can use that second attack. Wild Tackle does 200 flat, guaranteed, but 50 damage to itself. So I like this. Do we have a good way right now to put a ton of energy? I mean, you could. I
think there's the other Colossal, right? I think you could just run like maybe a 2/2 line of Colossal.
That's true. B's a card too that can accelerate energy to fighting type.
Yeah, maybe you could just run like a gigantic B Colossal deck and run lucky with some heads, play some Glimwood Tangle or something.
Sounds
reflip
fun.
those coins. I mean, to me, this seems like it's. I know we've already brought up LDF, Little Dark Fury, but I mean, to me, this seems like something that's going to get covered on their channel very quickly.
Yeah,
Um,
LDF must be salivating at a lot of these cards.
a lot of these cards are definitely like rogue deck ideas. Nothing so far like the Tapu Koko VMAX is probably the closest that I've seen to like a interesting deck
For sure.
that has a chance, but I don't
Okay,
know. This card's okay.
yeah, it's cool. You know, it is what it is. Next up, we have a single strike Pokemon again, Stone Joiner. Radical. Okay, so Stone Joiner, fighting in a colorless Earth beat, 30 damage. If there's a stadium in play, does 30 more. 60 damage for 2 energies, very average. But again, single strike Pokemon have a lot of damage modifiers to them. Um,
Yeah.
and then the second attack, 2 fighting in a colorless, Giga Hammer, 120, and then you can't do it next turn. So overall, I think it's a very average card. I do like the idea though about just like putting all of these single strike Pokemon like in your deck, right, and just running like a single strike box deck. Um, you
I
know,
think that's something that could be good in the future. Like we've seen that with the Team Plasma Pokemon that they've come out. We've seen that with the SP Pokemon from around 2010, 2011.
right,
I just don't think we have enough of these to even remotely consider that at this point. Like the set seems for a set that's called Battle Styles and it's based around Single Strike and Rapid Strike. I think what this is the third
yeah,
Rapid Strike or Single Strike card we've seen. Like obviously the Tepig and the other cards like that that evolve, like the Mankey, all count as those. But I mean, in terms of like the main form, these cards just don't seem to be hitting it enough. So I mean, it seems like they're giving us kind of more of an introduction to this, and then it's something that we could consider going down the line.
right. One thing I do want to note back to the art. Did you notice like Stone Joiner's like arms are just like they're just like floating rocks, like they're not connected at all. Can you see
Yeah,
that?
that's kind of crazy.
Is this like a psychic Pokemon in disguise?
I honestly don't know typing. For when it comes to it, like I don't know if this is like a pure stone Pokemon or rock Pokemon or whatever.
I think it is in the game and stuff. I just don't get it. Like how are they floating? Like I don't. How does this work? Like if I saw this,
Magnets.
oh shit, Zach. Again, dude, you've
Okay.
blown my mind so many times in this video.
You're like, what's magnets? I've never heard of them.
What's up,
Okay, I'm
Magnets? Okay.
yeah, exactly. I'm just moving on to single strike Urshifu and single strike Urshifu VMAX. I know that I think you and I both covered these on separate videos before, right?
Yeah, we covered them. Do you want to go
Yeah.
over them? Like, do you want to?
I think we just go like over the quick TLDR. I mean, I think that compared to the other Urshifu right now, which we'll cover a little bit in the video, this one seems to be the weaker one at first glance. Discarding all energies to do 270 is a little bit on the weaker side, but it does go through all effects. So I mean, it could be interesting, kind of like a Reshiram and Charizard GX. I do like
Right.
laser focus a lot on single strike Urshifu V. I think searching your deck for 2 fighting energies is absolutely fantastic. So maybe we could see a single strike Urshifu V kind of beatdown deck with Impact Blow, especially with all the Switch, Escape Rope cards like that we have, because you could get around the effect of Impact Blow. I don't necessarily think single strike Urshifu VMAX has what it takes immediately, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's kind of like a more Peko VMAX kind of deck where it focuses on very much on more Peko V, and then goes with one more Peko VMAX. So maybe it is a single strike Urshifu V deck where they're attacking on the second turn of the game, doing Impact Blow for a lot of damage, and then you attack with G-Max Blow to end the game by only playing one single strike Urshifu V-Max. It should be noted that the single strike scroll in the sets could be really cool, especially on a 330 HP Pokemon. It gives you a 10 damage modifier of Outrage, so plus 10 for every single damage counter. I think it could be interesting in that point, but that's really where I think these cards are. If there's anything you want to cover, Maddie, feel free to
Yeah, yeah.
speak your mind.
I like single strike. Like again, I like how they're different. So like rapid strike and single strike really are like very different strategies between two Pokemon that otherwise look and sort of feel very similar. I like for single strike Urshifu, I like laser focus. It's definitely a deck that feels like you want to go second, get that attack off, accelerate 3 energies after that first turn, and then next turn evolve in and hit for 270. Right. Overall, I don't like. We'll get into the rapid strikes, in a little bit, but I like single strike Urshifu. It stands to be proven once all the top players get their hands on these cards and they really try to figure out, the best ways to play them, then maybe we'll see which card is better. But for right now, just reading both of these cards, they don't stack up to the Rapid Strike Urshifu cards. But I don't know. I find it to be interesting for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to say. Personally, I don't like these Pokemon where it's like, they're just kind of a little bit plain. They just hit for big damage. Like, those aren't my type of decks, personally. But it definitely doesn't seem like a bad card at all, right? As far as these VMAXs go, I don't think that this one's bad at all. So
no, I don't think it's bad at all either. But it's interesting at the very least. We'll see exactly what time brings to these kind of cards. Again, the fact that they have the single strike mechanic built in gives them hope for the future, especially if they continue on or add any cool mechanics onto this mechanic already.
Right. Zach, I need to go to the bathroom real quick, so we can take a quick break, and I'll hop back in. We'll edit it out in post. Okay. All right, we're back. We're going to move a little bit quicker now because we're an hour way through, and we've only hit like 50 Pokemon, so for the Pokemon that aren't super interesting, we're not going to spend as much time on them. But I do want to cover Golbat real quickly because that and Crobat do have abilities. So Golbat, Stealthy Draw once during your turn. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may draw 2 cards. And then I think Crobat has a similar one, which is Hefty Draw. So when you do the same thing, when you play it to evolve it on one of your Pokemon, you draw 3 cards. So in the process of evolving up to Crobat, you draw 5 cards. Could be kind of interesting. Maybe you play like De-Evolution Spray or something like that, and consistently Scoop up net. Yeah, you just consistently get some just some drawing throughout the game. Could be good, and especially maybe in Eternatus or something like that. This time they actually are dark Pokemon, so I don't know. It seems cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems really cool. It's just kind of an alternative draw engine, like you said, maybe Eternatus, but I think it's just going to be good in decks in general. Especially like if you want to run no support Pokemon, you could just do ability based draw.
Oh yeah.
But beyond that, I mean, there's nothing. It's just interesting at the very least.
Yeah, I think that the single prize draw support Pokemon are actually typically pretty playable. Just because they're not worth 2 prizes, they can't get sniped by an ADP boosted Zacian for 3 prizes. So I think for that idea, it is pretty playable. Kind of like Minchino, Chinchino, Oranguru, those types of things. Excuse me. Here's the Galarian Slowbro V, Zach. Let me read it real quick. So Scatter, Poison. Both you and your opponent's Pokemon are poisoned. Interesting. And then for 3 energy, if this Pokemon is affected by status conditions, it does 120 more damage. So 220 for 3 energy. Could be kind of interesting on a stage 1 Pokemon. I don't think it's terrible, like, at all. I think that's actually like.
I think the biggest thing is that it's very hard to get a special condition on this Pokemon. And I mean, sure, it's built in with Scatter Poison, but poisoning yourself for a few turns, I just don't see how this Pokemon would ever survive that.
I agree.
I mean, we'll talk about the art another day. I think the art's super cool, but whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we're gonna move quick. So let's go. Okay,
let's go.
Hotchkrow next up. Again, cool little ability. Insomnia. This Pokemon cannot be asleep. It's cool. It seems so ridiculous. Yeah,
I mean,
why?
Excited dive 80 plus 80 if there's a special condition for 3 energies. Like, to me, it's just one of those things where this Pokemon is just not an opportunity to have a special energy on it to do 160 damage. I mean, maybe if something's dark weak, but I don't know what's dark weak. Not much.
Psychic.
Psychic. So if Psychic becomes huge and they're dark weak instead of being metal weak, like Gardevoir VMAX and stuff like that, that's already not playable. This card could be good. So the ability is kind of weak unless sleep becomes big in the future. And I mean, I think Excited Dive could be cool if weakness is a factor, but beyond that, I think 160 for 3 is super weak.
I agree. On a stage 1. Don't love it. Next up, some more single strike Pokemon, actually. We haven't seen any Rapid Strike yet, but a couple more single strikes. So here's the Houndoom, actually. Houndoom is a little bit busted. I like it a lot. Darkness Fang, 2 energies, 50 damage. Yeah, whatever. But the ability here, so once during your turn, you may search your deck for a single strike energy card, because there is a special single strike energy, and attach it to one of your single strike Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. And then if you attach the energy to a Pokemon this way, you put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. This actually... Does this go with the With the Primeape? I don't remember what the Primeape did, but
I mean, the Primeape, you just need energy. You need 2 energies. So I mean, any Pokemon that needs any energy acceleration, there's nothing particularly that worked with the Primeape. Just the fact that Primeape needs a way to accelerate energy into play.
the
So
damage
this.
counters though, right? Like, is that depending?
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I wasn't even thinking about the damage counterpart. I didn't read that far.
No, it's
So
super
yes,
rogue.
Houndoom would work with the Primeape in that capacity,
Okay,
where you could put 2 damage counters on. Oh no, it wouldn't work on the Primeape
it's gotta be on the
because it
bench.
only counts bench Pokemon.
Rip. Okay,
So
never mind.
yeah, Houndoom in general, you could play it with Primeape, but you probably just want to play it with other single strike Pokemon, especially as they get released.
Right.
Again, we've talked a little bit about the Mustard card that can summon this Pokemon, or you could evolve it from Houndour. It's a stage 1, so it's not that bad. I just think that energy acceleration is cool here. Single Strike Roar is an awesome ability. Is it great right now? Probably not. I don't think it's. There's not too many Pokemon you want to be building up, but in a world where you don't want to build up Pokemon, Houndoom's an energy acceleration option.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Like, I think Single Strike struggles a little bit with energy acceleration, more than Rapid Strike does. So I think that it could be good in some decks. I like the ability. Overall, I don't think it's incredibly good. But yeah, how do? It's cool.
So
I
moving,
like it.
yeah, that's cool. Moving on to Tyranitar. Tyranitar at first glance is kind of one of those boring cards just as a V Pokemon. Um, 60 damage, discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. I mean, discarding the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck could be really cool. The fact that it's 60 for 3 energies is kind of underpowered. Even 4 energies to do 240 is fine, but then you have to discard the top 4 cards of your deck. This could work with Houndoom to power yourself up, but it doesn't seem like it's hitting any particular number threshold. It's a lot of energies. The only thing that it has going for it is that it's single strike Pokemon. But I mean, I'll let you feel free to give your opinion, Maddie. I just think this card's too weak to really continue. It's kind of one of those V Pokemon that's gonna go to bulk.
I mean, I think it's a card where if each of its attacks had one less energy, in its attack cost, it would be decent. But cards like this, it just, I'm not ever gonna put 4 energies on a Tyranitar V, especially when it's dark energy and then we don't have any really great way to accelerate that energy other than Hydreigon from like Darkness Ablaze, which is again not a good Pokemon. So definitely not a card that I would ever play. But I love Tyranitar, so that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Okay, where does that leave us? Morpeko.
Yeah.
Morpeko actually seems pretty interesting. It's dark and lightning, as we've seen only lightning versions up to this point. Snack Grab is choose an item from your discard pile, reveal it, and put it into your hands. I think cards like this that can just get back resources can sometimes be good. We saw it with Oranguru with resource management. Obviously, this is only 1 copy, so do keep that in mind. I don't know how many cards allow you to get back item cards, but this is one of the few in this particular format. For a single energy, though, 20 damage if you have no cards in your hand. This attack does an additional 90 damage. 110 for a single energy. I don't hate this.
I
I don't want to have 0 cards in my hands. I'll put it like that. But at the same time, I like that it has a cool effect in order to do some damage.
Yeah, I think
I'm about it.
I think it's kind of interesting. Maybe again in Eternatus, just because you can grab those Pokemon search cards from your discard pile. Maybe another Quick Ball. Eternatus oftentimes has a lot of cards in hand that it can just burn through, whether it's just placing all those Pokemon on the bench or using like multiple Quick Balls, Great Balls, whatever it might be. Right. I feel like when you play Eternatus, there's a lot of times where it runs out of cards, and if somehow Morpeko for that 1 energy can hit for 110 on Eternatus, could be a decent single prize option to populate on your bench. But other than that,
I feel like if you're attacking this in the Eternatus though, it would only be for like its first attack, and if you ever came into a circumstance that you could just like discard your entire hands and then knock out your opponent's Pokemon to win the game on the first turn.
yeah, I kind of like that. Again, I'm not saying it's a great option, but it could be something that people kind of
110 for a single energy is one of the strongest attacks we have on a basic Pokemon, though. That's like for a single energy. I think that's a really strong threshold. I mean, I don't like the way that you have to get there, but I mean, your opponent sitting with like a lone Jirachi in the active spot probably does not want to see a Morpeko.
Right. Maybe there's a card up here later in the set that works with this Morpeko. But
for sure.
All right, moving on. Single Strike
Mawile.
Mawile. I haven't even looked at this one yet.
Neither have I. It is a single strike card, so it does have that going for it.
Right.
Clamping Vice, Metal Energy 20, flip a coin of heads, the defending Pokemon's paralyzed. Colorless, 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 100. It's not affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects. I think that this card is just strictly bland. Again, too low damage output, too high of an energy attack cost for the other attack to matter. Kind of like a filler card, if you may.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a little bit disappointed. I like Mawile cards, for sure. It's like the first single strike metal Pokemon that we've seen so far in the set. But yeah, I don't really see this card ever actually getting played. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
is what it is. I don't know. I guess we'll just move on from there. New Bronzong though.
I like Bronzong a lot.
Me too.
The ability is kind of broken.
Yeah. As often as you like during your turn, you may move a metal energy from one of your Pokemon to another one of your Pokemon. This is very good in a lot of scenarios, especially like Zacian decks, which just love moving around energies, especially since like a lot of times you need to retreat after you attack with Zacian. So maybe you attack next turn instead of getting the double switch or whatnot. You're able to just move an energy, switch, saucer, attach. And then that's just one setup turn right there. I like Bronzor. That's the first scenario that pops into my head. But overall, it's just a good ability for really any scenario.
I really like this with Copperajah. I mean, Copperajah, because the thing is, it says as often as you like during your turn, so you can just move
Oh,
all the energies. Yeah, it's
wow.
not just one. So you could just you don't need that metal saucer. You could just rip all the energies in any capacity, move them around,
Wow.
as long as they're metal energies. Um, so I mean, there is a card in the set that does do some healing damage. I don't want to spoil the set for you as you're going through us spoiling the set for you. But you could do a lot of healing and moving and stuff like that. So there's some combos that we could talk about a little bit later on. But I mean, the ability Metal Trans, there used to be Hydreigon in formats
Yep.
maybe about 8 years ago that worked away. Just moving energies and stuff like that. And there was Max Potion combos that was successful for a while. So I mean, I think decks like this can be absolutely huge. They've seen success in the past. Uh, there's nothing. This card will be very viable
For
and
sure.
likely is the best card we've seen in the set so far.
Right, in terms of just its pure viability. I think honestly, like any deck really that runs Metal Saucer, this is just a good deck that can go along with it. Again, it kind of works as like that proxy between putting the metal energies onto your bench Pokemon and moving those energies elsewhere. You know what I mean? So I like this card a whole lot. It's only stage 1, so easy to get into. I like it. I like it a lot, Zach. I'll give it a strong 7, maybe an 8.
I give this card like a 9,
Okay.
maybe closer to a 10.
Dang.
I think like we can't look at the card in the context of a metagame, considering we don't know what the metagame is going to be when the set releases.
Right.
I
Right.
just feel like this card is like it has like worlds winning potential. Like there's certain auras that cards give off, and I mean I think that Metal Trans is it's a card that could win. Like Metalization V is arguably the strongest card we have in formats. Um, and just the fact that you could move all the energies around, do some shenanigans with that, I feel like that this card single-handedly alone makes that card better.
That's
Um,
that's
so I,
that's a good point, man.
so Bronzong is just a really good support Pokemon. If you're playing a Metal deck, this is always going to be a consideration. Metal Pokemon, it's not like they're fairy Pokemon. They're going to continuously get printed in every single set.
Right.
So we get more and more options with Metal Trans. And this card's going to be legal for 2-3 years. We're going to see 2-3 years worth of cards come and go to be used with Metal Trans. I just think that, to me, this is my favorite card in the set so far. It's very good.
I agree, man. My I might bump it up. I think it's probably an 8 or 9. Now, the more I'm thinking about it, it is very very good. And yeah, I mean, you can say what you want about it. You can go into any sort of details, but I think it's a card that's only going to get better with time, and it's already very good. As it when it gets put into the format. Next up is
For sure.
Aegislash. Next up is Aegislash, Zach. Well, there's 2 different kinds of Aegislash in this, set.
Okay.
There's like for the different stance changes. So there's this one here that I have up on my screen, and then there's another one below. But the first one here, stage 2 Pokemon, 150 HP. It's got the ability stance change. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may switch this Pokemon with an Aegislash in your hand. Any cards attached to this Pokemon, damage counter special conditions in play remain. So you can switch between the 2 forms of Aegislash. This one seems to be the attacking version the offensive version. So Full Metal Blade, 210 damage for 3 energies, and then you discard 2 metals from this Pokemon. I don't hate it. I like that ability. I think it's cool. Will it see a whole lot of play? Probably not. But again, with Bronzong, it's one of those things where
Metal type, it's better to be metal type than not. There's metal saucers. There's
Right.
cool stuff going on there.
I agree. And then the other one, Zach, is it's got the same ability, but it's got Giganto Bash. So 70 damage, and then during your next turn, or your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon from Pokemon VMAX. So this means that, depending on what your opponent's playing, like you can go into this Pokemon, hit him for 70, and be immune to those VMAX Pokemon, which is good in a lot of decks. A lot of decks are running VMAXs these days. And then after you hit for 70, you can go in and then hit for 210, and that's 280. It's not going to, of course, knock out VMAX Pokemon, but then you can hit for 70 twice and then go into 210. I like this idea a lot, Zach. I love...
Yeah, I like the ability a lot, and I think it's probably an Aegislash very specific ability, kind of like how it works in the VGC a little bit.
Right, yes. Of course, yeah.
But it's also should be noted too that there's nothing that says that the Pokemon has to have the stance change ability to change it out, right? It just has to be an Aegislash. So maybe in the expanded format there could be some cool Aegislash that have been printed in the past, or even in our current standard format. I think there's one from maybe it's Cosmic Eclipse.
Wait, Zach, can you go into Aegislash V?
No, because Aegislash
it's a different...
V have 2 different names.
Dang.
Even though that'd be cool if you could, or even switch into an Aegislash VMAX.
Oh my god, bro.
Yeah, I know. We're thinking on X game mode at 2 o'clock in the morning right now. We just want to get this content out to you for right.
Yeah, okay.
But Aegislash is just switching around here.
I like it though. I really like it. Again,
the ability is super unique.
Yeah, it's one of those immunity decks. I think later in the format, when almost all decks are VMAX decks, you know what I mean, after rotation, something like this could just be absolutely busted. I like it. I like it.
I don't hate it.
Okay, right, let's move on.
Let's see where we're at. There's Pharaoh.
No.
70 damage for 1 energy can absolutely... We're moving on to Licky.
Licky. I saw a lot about this one, though. A lot of people were talking about it.
Licky Choice.
Yeah, you can go over it.
Triple colorless energy. Your opponent discards the top 3 cards of their deck. Alternatively, they can choose 3 cards from their hand and discard them instead. The second attack is just doing 4 energies, 100, and your opponent switches their active with 1 to their bench. When we're looking at this card, we're only going to be looking at Licky Choice because that one's the only interesting attack. Discarding cards from your deck, as we saw with Durant, could be okay.
3 energy, though.
3 energies. There's triple acceleration energy. You could play this with Welder. You could play this with Twin Energy. There's a few ways to get the energies on this card, especially with it being a colorless Pokemon. Is it worth it for Licky Choice? Probably not. This screams more of a fun deck, but a disruption deck like this can turn up and win some games. If you give your opponent some really tough choices, right, I think they're just going to discard a lot of cards from their deck. Maybe this would be played with Curse Shovel, just continuously discard all their resources. With a few other cards, this could actually be pretty strong. But it'd have to be a pretty far-fetched combo deck at this point.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't upon first glance, I think the attack's very cool. I like the choice. I think it's kind of fun. It's definitely very fun, but fun doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be very competitive.
Right, I agree. I think it's a little bit too far of a stretch, the combo, but potentially, could see some play. Again, probably one of the most disturbing looking Pokemon I've ever seen, and I'm going to move away from that. We finally have another Pokemon V, Zach, which one I actually really like. Not that it's amazing.
I like this one too a lot, actually. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it's so for 3 colorless, you have Second Bite. That first attack, 40 damage. If the defending Pokemon is knocked out by this attack, you take 1 extra prize card. That's really the only thing significant about this Pokemon. The second attack, 4 energies, 200, and then do 30 damage to yourself. I like the Second Bite a lot. I feel like this could see play in Welder decks, just where you pull it out. You get the energies onto it in 1 turn with Welder, and then you just kind of knock out something that only has 40 or less HP left, and then you just cheese out that extra prize card, maybe for the win. I I like it, man. I like it. It also could be an option for ADP. I guess in some ways, like you could technically put this in ADP, but getting the energies on it would be a little bit strange. Although we do have Bronzong now,
I
but
think Bronzong only moves.
it's
Does
just metal
Bronzong only
energies.
move metal? It's not metal energies from metal Pokemon. From one of your Pokemon to another. Okay, yeah, I mean that could be cool. Maybe there's some kind of like ADP Bronzong Stoutland deck.
Yeah, I mean, in the same way to where you have the option to hit with Zacian, or you have the option to move those energies onto Stoutland, and then maybe just knock out a single prize Pokemon, and take 2 prizes or 3 prizes off a single prize Pokemon. It's got options. I think that this card is cool. We'll have to see if it is easy enough to fit into decks for it to see some success. But I love these kind of ideas. I feel like it's very different than Cramorant, but it's like the same idea where you kind of like cheese out extra prize cards, right?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's going to be difficult is I feel like if you're playing a welder-based deck and you leave a Pokemon with 40 HP left, it seems like kind of you chose the wrong attacker. In most cases, there's always an option to get a knockout. So if you're leaving them intentionally with enough damage to knock them out with Stoutland, it's probably better to play Cramorant. So I don't know if this card will necessarily find a home. I just like that it has its second bite is a cool option in general. Beyond that, it's interesting. It's one of those things where like
Yeah.
I think I'd have to find the correct spot in a deck for it. But I
think
mean, I certainly will try to look for one.
I feel like maybe you pair this with like Reshizard, because Reshizard will hit for 230, which isn't enough oftentimes to KO tag team Pokemon. That extra 40 will most likely get the KO on tag teams. That's 270 total. And for VMAX Pokemon with Reshizard, you hit for the 300 with the GX attack. Again, not enough to knock out VMAX Pokemon, but that extra 40 will be. So that's kind of the only scenario I can really think of. But again, that's a lot of energies committed just for that one combo. But
to see, I mean,
yeah.
again, it's not when we're comparing this something to like the Stoutland to the Tyranitar V, for example. At least this card has the potential of use.
Yeah, there's a reason to play it.
Exactly. So we'll see.
I like it though.
On here.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like it. Drampa is pretty basic. Searching for 2 basic Pokemon, put them on your bench. 30 plus, flip a coin until you get tails. Cards like this you'd only be using it for Call for Family. I mean, there's that kind of meme Chandelure deck. I think that's
This is just like the best Call for Family option that we have. It's colorless energy. It's got 120 on the basic. I think as far as these Call for Family Pokemon go in these road decks, this is going to be your best option.
But that's about it. I think Drampa is Call for Family. And I mean, moving on, we have Escape Rope. We've already touched on Escape Rope a bunch, so I don't want to touch too much on it. This card's been out forever. We haven't had it in our standard format for, about a year now?
Yeah,
But this card kind of was Warp Point in the past, turned into Escape Rope, and it's just like a switch for both players. Which means that all decks might not just run for Switch. You got some options. You got Switch with some Spice. So adding options when it comes to deck building is just going to quickly grow the game, make it a little bit more strategic so that you're not just having an instant switch. You might actually use a couple of those spots for Escape Rope. And there's some decks that could benefit from this as well. Especially if your opponent only has one Pokemon, where we see like Fion being played in some decks just to bring up your opponent's Pokemon.
Right.
I mean, Escape Rope could very much do the same thing. But it's nice to have kind of a format staple back in our formats. So I mean, I'm certainly excited about it. It's probably going to be in a lot of winning decks.
I agree.
Really basic card though.
Yeah.
Kind of like Switch.
Yeah, I everything you said I fully agree with. I think it's one of those cards that has like infinite potential, infinite possibilities. But overall, I think it's going to be really good for the format to have this card back in. I think it's just going to change the way people play. And overall, I think I'm glad that we have it back.
Same here.
Vitality Band next, or Vitality Jar.
Vitality Jar.
Choose up to 2 single strike energy cards from your discard pile, reveal them, and then shuffle them back into your deck. So it's just a way to recycle those single strike special energies. I don't see this being particularly needed in a lot of single strike decks, but maybe for the long haul in some decks, it might see like a 1 or 2 of use, kind of like Fire Crystal, but less good. And Yeah, I mean, I'm not too high on this card, but I feel like, it's there if you're ever playing a deck that needs to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those getting back energies is cute, especially if your opponent finds a way to discard them. Um, it's cool. I don't hate it. I like unique cards like this. It allows for cool deck building.
For sure.
What does Camping Gear do?
Uh, if you play this card, your turn ends. Search your deck for a card, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck.
Obviously, this card hasn't met up with Marnie yet, or Reset Stamp. Um,
Oh no.
it's interesting. I don't hate it. It's just I feel like Marnie.
I kind of hate it.
Yeah, I don't. I like. I think in some kind of like control deck, um, or some kind of wall deck that's not attacking, this might be a very good card. Kind of like a search your deck Pokegear or something like that.
Yeah.
Reasonably, that's the only kind of use that I could see for a card like this. Those decks are already very susceptible to Marnie anyways. Typically, they have better engines, or they run off like even an expanded, they'll run off a Tropical Beach engine. Camping Gear to me just seems like the only way that we have for that to work in standard. But I'm not. I don't know. This card's very weird. My thoughts on it, it's a little bit on the weak side right now.
It is. It seems like a really ideal card to have like going first, like in your hand right at the beginning of the game. Especially like it kind of prevents you from bricking, especially like going into that second turn. But I don't I don't want to even talk too much about this card. It is what it is. Maybe it will see a lot of use in a few decks, but
Again, I think it's only going to be in control of wall decks.
right.
The next card that we have up is Single Strike Scroll Raging Scroll. This is a card that we've already kind of talked about with the Urshifu VMAX, so I don't want to go into too much more details. It just adds Outrage 10+10 in the form of Fury, which I mean I think it could be cool on the higher HP'd Single Strike Urshifu VMAX, but I don't necessarily even know. Cards like this are typically not strong. Kind of the attachable attacks don't do too much. We haven't seen too much success since the Technical Machine days back in like
Right.
2004, 2005. I don't know if that's going to change at all. We have to see exactly what comes out as more single strike cards get printed. But this might be one of the only few cards that's kind of carrying Urshifu VMAX, the single strike one.
Yeah, I think it's cool being able to add a tool that adds attacks onto some Pokemon. Again, these are cards that really you have to dive into, sort of like the deck building, the depths, to really find good use for this card. Again, I think it could see some use in some rogue decks, some very specific uses. But overall, I don't find it to be, that important. But I think the idea of these cards are really cool.
Yeah, same here.
XP share.
And it's a reprint. We've seen this card before. Again, similar like Escape Rope. A card like this allows you to move. Oh wait, when this Pokemon is knocked out by a damage from your opponent's attack, you may move one basic energy card that this Pokemon
It's like a
attached to.
worse wishful baton, right?
Yeah, I think Wishful Baton was the card that I was thinking of when I was thinking of Experience Share, and then now I remember that it's only the one card.
But it's different. You attach this to the Pokemon that you want the energy to move to, other than
Yes.
attaching this to the Pokemon that is about to get knocked out.
So I mean, it's interesting. I don't know which Pokemon I want to save an energy from.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could have a few experience shares in play and collect the energies differently.
Oh, that's a
Um,
good. Yeah. I mean, technically, you could just run like 4 XP shares and then like save all your energy for a while, right? Or at least you know what I mean.
exactly.
I like
But it's
that.
also cards like this that are pretty susceptible to tool scrappers because they're sitting for a
Yes,
significant amount of time.
very much so.
Stuff, stuff like that.
All right, yeah, we'll move on. Cool card. I kind of like it.
I think it's interesting.
Bruno, uh, um, shuffle your hand into your deck. Draw 4 cards. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, then draw 7 cards. So it's kind of a mix between Marnie and Research with an extra sort of like mechanic, or requirement for it. Overall, I don't find this card to be very good. It does have the single strike mechanic, so it's searchable with a few other cards. But overall, I don't really see this card seeing much play.
I mean, this is kind of a worse Cynthia's Feelings to everyone who's been playing for a while. Cynthia Feelings did the same thing,
Yeah.
except it was 8 cards instead of 4 and 7. So it's 4 and 8. I mean, I think that this card is arguably one of the better supporters we've seen in a while.
You think so?
I know yeah, I think it's fine. Because right now we're kind of stuck in a professor's research Marnie boss. Every single deck is like basically running those unless they're a welder deck, and then they're running welder boss.
Right, right,
And the
right.
only other supporters that we ever see are like Mallow, Lana, Birdkeeper. That's basically as far as you ever see in our standard format. Bruno has the opportunity to kind of change things up for certain decks. Maybe single prize card decks will run Bruno instead of playing Marnie. Maybe decks that don't want to pitch their hand away with research are going to be playing Marnie Bruno. It just kind of gives us like
Yeah, it gives it more
it's not the
depth.
best option, it's the next best up option.
I agree. I feel like I was comparing it to like Cynthia, like to where like it's definitely not as good as a card like that. Um, but right now in our legal format, then yeah, I mean it's not terrible.
Yeah, we're kind of in a supporter desert. We
Yeah,
are like our
yeah,
supporters that we have that are very good, but it's also very good for every single deck. So I mean, this might allow us to see some kind of deck building diversity, and it's the step in the right direction.
I agree. Next up is Phoebe. During this turn, damage from attacks of your Pokemon VMAX aren't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. This one's over my head,
Yeah.
Zach. Can you
So I mean,
elaborate?
in a case where you're playing against a Decidueye, I think this would allow something like a Colossal VMAX to knock out a Decidueye.
It does it during this turn. Damage from attacks of your opponent's. Oh yeah. Yes. Okay, I read it wrong. Yeah, yeah. This
So it kind of allows your VMAX deck to plow through kind of stuff that's in its path at the cost of playing a supporter.
I like
Do I think this
this.
card's it's not bad. It's inherently good. It just depends at what cost and which deck. Kind of like if you play Aegislash V to get around Decigoons and ADP, this is now an option, one of the only options we have for VMAX decks to get through the same kind of thing.
Yeah, man. The only problem with this is like, is it really a card that you're gonna run like two, three, or four of in your deck? And if you aren't, like, how often are you gonna be able to find this card? You know what I mean?
I mean,
Uh,
I think a lot of the cases, like when I'm playing a deck like Colossal or something like that, I'll just use Colossal VMAX as an example because that's what I've been playing recently.
right.
I could probably draw a few prize cards, like knock out a few a Jirachi here, maybe an Obstagoon, maybe a Ratlet. So I could probably draw three prize cards. If you mix this card with one or two copies with Eldegoss, you might be able to
Uh,
complete the game.
yeah, I like that actually. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be good for those decks that literally just get auto lost by things like Desi, which I think is good. I think that now now people are gonna be like, oh, like I hate Desi, and then it's gonna be like, well, just run Phoebe. You know what I mean? So I like that we have an
Yeah,
out.
it sucks if you're a Decigoons player or anything similar to that,
Yeah,
or
Zach
anything
Cooper.
that could come out, but
Yeah, rest in peace, Zach Cooper and Gabe Shumway. Gabe
yeah,
Shungite.
exactly. Rip guys.
Rip guys. Anyway, that's a cool card though. I like how they made it. Now on to the mustard. This is the single strike mustard.
Okay, so this one is the one where you search your deck. So instead of, I know when we were talking about Emboar, we were talking about the discard pile. This one actually just searches your
Ah,
deck for the Emboar.
I like that.
Um, so I mean, cards like this are good. You could whittle down your hand to one, especially with some of the cards that we have in format, like Quick Ball makes it possible. Even Electromagnetic Radar makes it possible. So depending on what kind of deck you're building or what you have, I think it's possible to get yourself down to one card, and then just mustard single strike stance into an Emboar, put that on your bench, and then continue on with your turn. Again, there's not really too many Pokemon that I want to power up with Emboar right now, but this is really a forward-looking card.
For sure. Uh, sorry, Zach. My webcam died again because we've been going for so long. But you know what? We're just gonna rip through the rest of the video without the webcam.
Okay, cool. No worries. That's completely fine. I mean, I don't even have my webcam on my version of the video because it's going to be featured on both Maddie's Chill TCG YouTube channel and my TheLoneBlown YouTube channel. Be sure if you haven't subscribed to either one of them, or if you've subscribed to one or the other, feel free to subscribe to the other one. We both cover different Pokemon contents.
For sure, man.
But
Yeah, if you're watching this on my channel and you're not subscribed to the Lone Blown, just go do it. Description down below. Great guy, great content creator. Always helps out with the
And
videos.
same thing for Chill TCG. Chill TCG is they run some of the best events in online right now. Maddie's a great guy. We run a podcast together, covering a lot of the data that goes on from their particular tournaments. Now they're running up to two tournaments per week. So I mean, I'd totally check out their channel as well. If you haven't subscribed to them, it's in the description below. Moving on, we got Tower of Darkness. Um, you can discard a single strike card from your hand and draw 2 cards. To me, this seems pretty good. It's kind of like Scorched Earth that was playable a few years back. I think drawing 2 cards at a time is fine for a stadium card.
Yeah, it would be cooler if that other mustard. I mean, it wouldn't be for mustard, but there would be more synergy if that mustard was you take the single strike Pokemon out of your discard pile. That way, those 2 cards would synergize. But overall, yeah, I mean, I think I don't love this, but I think there's a lot of other stadiums that would probably run. But it's not terrible. It's not bad at all, right? It's it is what it is. It's just kind of like a free draw 2 cards, and maybe if there's ever a deck archetype that relies on having a certain amount of single strike Pokemon in your discard pile, kind of like a Mad Party style thing, then maybe this stadium would be very good. So
So yeah, I played Scorched Earth at OCIC Australia International Championships like in 2018 or something like that.
yeah,
With the Scorched Earth, where I think it was discarding a fighting or a fire energy from your hands. So I played it with kind of like a Buzzwole Garbodor deck. So just kind of a little bit of a slower build, but this allowed me to see extra cards that I need to at certain times. So I mean, I think it's interesting just to kind of thin through your deck a little bit more. Obviously, it has to be based around single strike Pokemon, but we'll see exactly. It's a card that can grow better with age, like most of these other cards.
for sure. Next up, the special single strike energy. So there's one for rapid and single strike. This one, it's really cool. So it counts as both a dark type energy and a fighting type energy, but only provides one at a time. And the attacks of the Pokemon that this card is attached to do 20 more damage. So a very kind of significant damage boost from a special energy. It's good to see. I like cards like this. I think it's going to be very powerful. It's going to see play in every single strike deck, right? And it is a single strike card, so you can search it out with the other Pokemon. You can take it out of your deck with Mustard, whatever it might be. I think that this card is very good, and it should see play in any single strike, deck.
Yeah, I agree with that. It seems good to me. It's one of those things where maybe not every single strike deck because it only counts as fighting in dark, but the fact that it's fighting in dark means that
right.
there could be other single strike energies that get released as well with the same exact name.
Right.
That could have different energy requirements as well. It seems like fighting in dark seemed like the type for this set. Maybe they'll add more special energies in the future to maybe work with like Emboar.
Right. I agree with that, man. I think I think you hit the nail on the head there. We're now halfway through, so now we're on to the Rapid Strike Master half of the set.
We'll see which version of the set is better, the Rapid Strike or the Single Strike. I mean, I think Single Strike.
I already
so
know.
far there was a few cards, but we'll have to see what comes out in Rapid Strike.
I like Rapid Strike. I'm not going to cover Bellsprout, but I guess Weeping Bell. So it does have the ability Dangerous Slime here. So when you evolve your Bellsprout, when you evolve into Weeping Bell here, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon burned and poisoned. So again, this could see play with that Salazzle that we saw. Overall, going to be a very clunky deck, but actually is not bad in terms of inflicting status conditions. I think this is probably one of the better options that we have to inflict multiple. And burn and poison
100%.
is good, right? Because you can also, the confusion works with Salazzle, and that would be 3. So I like it. I mean, it's cool. Like, it's actually very cool.
That you need for a deck like that. Obviously, we'll have to see if there's any other way to get those other special conditions really easily in play. But I mean, this seems, again, very good for the Salazzle deck.
Right. Victory Bell. You evolve from Weaving Bell into Victory Bell. For 1 colorless energy, Panic Vine 40 damage, and you confuse your opponent's active Pokemon. And then the next turn it also can't retreat. So this is a deck, if you just focus around Weeping Bell, Victory Bell, this could be a very annoying deck between the burn, poison, confusion, kind of locking them in the active spot. Could be interesting, although it doesn't seem to be very viable. And that second attack, Grass, colorless 120. So I think it's cool. I think these cards are cool. I just don't significantly think that they will see
synergy with the Salazzle deck as well, where you could just go confusion, poison, burn. But I mean, I agree with you. Cricketune is a card that I saw leaked a few days ago that I'm kind of excited about. So once during your turn you may draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. This Pokemon could be anywhere in play. I think that part of the ability is really huge, especially if you get down to a thin hand size. We could also see decks, maybe these mustard strike decks, kind of playing down to a lower hand size anyways, or playing cards that can get your hand down to a low size. So I could see Stage Elation drawing you some cards. And if it's in your active spot, you could draw 4 cards, or until you have 4 cards in your hands. You can only use the ability once, period. Stage Elation once per turn, so even if you have 2 Crickettoons, or even another Pokemon that has a Stage Elation ability. But I mean, I think drawing cards in any capacity, this seems like a very good opportunity to do so. The attacks on the weak side, but I put this with kind of like the Crobat V's, Eldegoss kind of cards of the world, where I feel like Crickettoon V seems very interesting if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think that ability is very good. I don't know if it's as good as things like Eldegoss or Crobat, but it's right up there with sort of its the intent of playing it. It's a card that you would put in really decks that you wouldn't use it for its attack. I think the 180 HP makes sense on a Pokemon like this, but I would love to see something a bit higher. 180 HP makes you're a little bit more susceptible to getting sniped by that ADP for 3 prizes. Yet again, I think it probably will see play in some decks. I think it's a very useful ability, but sort of putting multiple 2-prize Pokemon down on your bench all game, you are susceptible to boss's orders, and I like this card. I think it was only a matter of time before we had a Pokemon V that did something like this, since we did have a Crobat, Eldegoss, and now we have Crickettoon. It kind of gets added to that category of cards. I like it. I'm going to give it like a 7, 6 or 7.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's probably fair. Kind of leads us into our next card, Cherubi. Cherubi, as often as you like during a turn, you may attach a Grass Energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon, except for Rule Box Pokemon. So this is a set where we've actually seen Rule Box become a new kind of definition. Rule Box is any Pokemon that has a rule at the bottom of the card. I mean, you might be like, what does that mean? So EX Pokemon, VMAX Pokemon will have the draw 3 cards. Coco V, you can only have, or Tapu Koko Prism Star, you can only play 1 Prism Star per deck.
Right.
Any card that has those rules at the bottom, even in the expanded formats, going back there, these would be cards that you could not attach to. But I mean, I think attaching as many Grass Energies, especially on a stage 1, to any of your Pokemon, not even a Grass type Pokemon, seems like a very good ability. Especially if there's a way to transfer them to a Pokemon with a rule box in the future.
Right.
I know Bronzong only moves Metal Energies, but maybe there's another way.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, man. I think that this card is very cool. It's like one of those cards that probably will get better with time, like most of these other cards. And it might make some sort of single prize grass, archetype decks more viable, having Cherubi in their deck. So, or Cherim, yeah. So
I know there's that kind of meme Maractus deck that I know that Mahone Tricky Jim has covered. Before, this would be a really good way to power that up.
Oh yeah, man, that actually makes that deck very cool. Interesting, man. Listen, I'm gonna play that because that sounds fun and super trolly. So cool. I like Cherim. It's another holo rare in this set. Carnivine is next up. This is a Rapid Strike, so this is our first Rapid Strike that we're taking a look at. 2 colorless, big bite, 30 damage during your opponent's next turn. The defending Pokemon cannot retreat. It is what it is. It's whatever. And then for grass, 2 colorless, triple whip, 60 damage. You flip 3 coins, and then it does 60 for each head. So for 3 energies, at the most, you're doing 180. On average, you're doing either 60. On average, you're probably flipping. Well, yeah. So I guess technically, on average, you're doing 120 for 3 energy. So it's not great. But the art is very cool.
I mean, anytime we talk about the art, it's one of those things where we're just moving on to the next card.
Yeah.
Lorantis, heal 30, heal 30, 70 damage, and we're moving on to the next card already. Cards like this are basic fodder in the set,
Yeah.
uncommon.
Happy
Bulu.
Yeah, okay. Cool to see a Bulu in here.
Yep. 20 damage, your opponent switches their active with one of their benched. So kind of a single-sided switch for them. Okay. Grass, colorless, 80 plus 80, especially if you discard all energies. I think this card's just like missing the mark here. 160 is just not enough anymore. If this card was doing 250 or something like that, I'd be like, yeah, that's super cool. But we're just in such a power creep where 160 is just not going to cut it with Nature's Judgment.
I agree. I think maybe if he was just like 2 grass for the attack cost, then maybe, because it is a basic Pokemon. But yeah, I don't think anyone should ever play top of Bulu. So we can move on from that. There's a Blipbug here. I don't know why there's a Blipbug here, but
I think the Blipbug, I think the Dottler, I think it evolves into Dottler and then Orbeetle.
oh, they're psychic.
I
Right.
think those are both psychic type.
Okay, so let's move on. We have the new Victini V, Zach. Victini V. So for 1 Fire Energy, V Bullet, 10 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon V, it does 50 more. So I guess for 1 energy, you can do 60 to a Pokemon V. Okay, and then Flare Shot for a colorless and a fire. 120, and then you discard energy from this Pokemon. So both of those are very bad attacks. Again, this is one of those cards that you would really only play to get into Victini VMAX. But we do have Victini V from Sword and Shield base set, which is above and beyond the better Victini V, in my opinion.
I completely agree. There's nothing here that seems spectacular.
Yeah.
Victini VMAX having Spreading Flames, basically the exact same attack as Victini V. You can attach them any way you like. Fire color, so that attack seems fine. I think energy acceleration at any capacity is fine.
Yeah, especially having
it's
310.
awkward that you have Victini V has basically the exact same attack.
Right. I think this attack is a bit more viable on a Pokemon that is in less jeopardy of getting one-shotted if it's left out there. But to the same effect, yeah, it's a bit strange to have them on both. Plus, I think if you're running Victini VMAX this one, I think you're running the old Victini V as well because it's a better card. So it's weird to have the same attack on both the V and VMAX.
And then 100 plus 120 if they're a V Pokemon, which would encompass both a V and VMAX to do 220 for 2. I think 220 for 2 is cute. Is it cute enough to run this card? That only time will tell. You got to look at something like Eternatus VMAX. Eternatus VMAX is doing 270 for having a full bench of 8. So this could it's arguably easier to do this amount of damage. I just don't see where it's super helpful.
The only thing I can note with this card is that it's one of these fire type cards that we rarely see that doesn't really require you to run Welder. You know, it doesn't have a high energy attack cost. I guess post rotation when Welder rotates, this card will remain playable. But other than that, yeah, I'm not very high on this card.
Yeah, you already have Victini V in a lot of these Scorch decks.
Right.
Or fire type decks in general. I don't see any reason not to play in Victini V Max. This seems more like a potential tech than anything else that's huge.
I agree, man. Heatmore, 20, yeah, whatever. Bellow Burner, 70 damage. Flip 2 coins for each head. Discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Could be interesting. Energy denial decks are not terrible, but for 3 energy, it seems a little bit steep to be doing this. And it is a basic Pokemon. I don't know. Could see some play, to be fair. Energy denial.
I never knew that his tail was like a pipe.
Me either, bro. I've never seen that in my life.
I've never seen that either.
I'm a little bit terrified now.
Yeah, same.
We're gonna move on.
Yeah.
New Centiskorch.
Centiskorch. I mean, as long as this Pokemon is in play, whenever your opponent flips heads for a burn Pokemon, that Pokemon remains burned. Burn's not a huge special condition. But I mean, if it does become a huge special condition, the Centiskorch is definitely going to keep that burn in play. Bursting Inferno, 130 damage. They're now burned. I don't see any way that you're ever getting 4 energies on this Pokemon, and it stays alive. So I think this card is probably bad, but its ability Overheater could be good if burn does ever become important at any given points.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, it's. I don't know. I don't know if
unless burn exists.
Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to run Burning Scarf with this thing. I have no idea. But fun note: this is our 4th Centiskorch that got printed. So okay. Next up, we have Kingdra.
Anyone who's watching, this is actually Kingdra's my favorite Pokemon.
Ooh, okay.
Fun fact about me: I have a tribal Kingdra tattoo on my upper arm. I won my first trip to Worlds in 2005 with a Kingdra Delta species deck. So, huge Kingdra fan.
That is kind of dope. I assume that you like it for its tube mouth, right?
Excuse me.
Okay. Ability Lord of the Ocean Depths. That's probably the best ability name I've heard so far. When your active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from your opponent's attack, you may choose any number of water energy attached to that Pokemon and move them to this Pokemon. And then its attack does 40 more for each energy attached to it. So I guess this could be kind of a cool tech in Lapras, right? You just pile energies onto Lapras until it dies. And then when it does die, you can go into Kingdra and potentially hit for, 200s, maybe even high 300s. You never know.
Actually, I think more and more that I think about it, if I'm reading this card correctly, I think that this would just be its own standalone deck. I think you would just play Kingdra Frostmoth.
Oh,
And
just
just build up a
continuously.
bunch.
Yeah, okay.
And then you could take all those energies in play, move them to the next Kingdra, keep on getting your Kingdra set up. So as long as you have
Whoa.
another Kingdra,
Wait a minute,
um,
Zach.
you could have like 10 water
Oh,
energies.
no, Zach. Did this card just break the format? I mean, if you can potentially just get like 4 stage 2 Pokemon out there, like at a good rate, then this deck might be busted, bro.
I mean, I don't, yeah, like, unless
What?
there's something I'm reading that's wrong, you could have like, you keep on collecting the energies as
Every
you go
turn.
on.
Yeah.
So unless there's something that stops the ability, which I don't think there's really anything that's, I mean, I think there's the new Empoleon V that would stop this a little bit further down.
Yeah, I don't see Empoleon V seeing too much play either. We'll get into that, but this kind of seems
I
like a
mean,
water type Blounds in a way. It's very different, but like the same kind of like threat almost. To
and the
where
thing is too, you don't even need to have too many energies because as soon as you get them in play, they stay in play for the entire game. And it doesn't even have to be a Kingdra in the active spot, so you could even just power up other Pokemon. I think this seems very good upon first glance. The ability seems absolutely broken.
I'm super excited to also.
However, it should be noted it's damage from an opponent's attack, not knocked out, period.
Wait, so when this active Pokemon is knocked out by damage. Okay, so yeah, so if it is knocked out by poison or
Or damage counters, or
yeah.
the
Okay.
defending Pokemon is now knocked out.
Okay.
Um,
I feel
but I
like
mean, most things are damage in this format, to be completely fair.
right, and I
But I
feel
did
like
want to bring that up.
yeah, I feel like 150 is in that spot too, where anything that would be attacking it would be knocking it out by damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like they wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like just no one's gonna hit you for like 110 or like 120 and then poison you or like, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where in decks that run poison or damage counters, like Eternatus for example, like it's just gonna knock you out anyway, like no matter what, by damage. So potentially could be an incredibly fun deck to play. And with Frostmoth, with Nessa, with Capacious Bucket, this deck seems very fun to play for sure. And we might have to test with this a bit, Zach.
I agree. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen a card that like the ability is very good.
It's
And I
so
mean
good.
the attack's also very good. I don't know. This one's very interesting. I haven't seen this card yet, and
Me
I
either.
was totally expecting a garbage card,
Nobody's
and I'm
nobody's
kind of
been
a little
talking
bit
about it.
taken back.
We found
Except us, man.
the
We're
hidden.
talking about it.
Yeah, we are, man. I think the ability name speaks for itself too. The Lord of Ocean Depths. Indeed, it is the Lord of Ocean Depths.
Exactly. We bow down to that crown Kingdra.
All right, we'll move away from that monstrosity of a card. Holy cow!
To Galarian Mr. Rhyme, everyone's funny clowned ice friends.
Love it. Our third one
Ball.
so far.
The ball juggling. If you ever want to juggle balls, here's where it's at.
So what does this
you can
do?
discard any number. You can discard any item cards with ball in their name. It does 40 damage for each card discarded in this way. So that would be now the word ball. I think in Japan they clarified it that it has to be like a Pokeball.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
things like that, like
Um,
air balloon. Even though it has the word ball in its name, would not.
yeah, it's got a
towards ball juggling.
Okay. I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Pokeball guy, right? The mascot guy. You know that card, the supporter. Have you seen that one?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
does
yeah, I
that
think
take it from your?
that's-
Does that take it from your discard or your deck?
I'm not sure.
Because that could
I
be a
wanted
deck
to-
in its own right, right? You just run all the ball cards. You run that guy, and you run this, and then it's a funny little
The-
rogue deck.
This card also seems like it works with the Yamper in the sets.
Yep.
With Scoop Up Ned and stuff like that. I mean, I think the Yamper Mr. Mime deck sounds kind of like the Cramorant Aeroscuda deck.
You know,
Kind of like a cute combo within a combo.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I don't know how many ball cards we have in formats.
Well, we have Quick Ball, we have Great Ball, we have Level Ball now. Spoiler. And we have Cherish Ball still. And do we still have like Nest Ball or Net Ball? No?
No, I don't think we have those cards. However, this card could be very good in the expanded format where
Ooh.
there's a lot of ball cards, and
Yeah,
you could
man.
probably you could search out. You could probably just have a bunch. Like you could play a Sycamore and draw into 7 ball cards, and then just knock out your opponent's Pokemon. I don't know if it makes sense ever build a deck around that. I
I,
like. I'm not logistically thinking about that, but
you're not going to spend the time to build a ball focused Galarian Mr. Rhyme expanded deck because
yeah, I think you'll run out of ball cards before
yeah,
it becomes good. But in a world where, yeah, it's this card's probably not going to be it. It seems like a fun little combo.
yeah.
You'll probably see some of the YouTubers make some videos about it because it's fun. But in terms of competitive, it's a little bit dry.
Right. I'll tell you what, Zach. This set specifically really makes me wish we had like a restricted format where it was only single prizers. Because there's a lot of really cool single prize Pokemon in this set that have super cool abilities, but might not be like good enough to really have any impact in the standard format. So
I agree.
if we ever see a restricted format or something like that, man, this game could be a lot more fun for a lot of people.
I totally agree. Speaking about
Octillery,
another single prize card Pokemon, Octillery.
this one's good, man.
I like the ability searching your deck for a Rapid Strike card, anything with the Rapid Strike on there. And
Energy, supporter, tool, stadium, Pokemon, anything, bro.
yeah, you can only use 1 Rapid Strike search per turn, but I mean, I think that it's a really cool ability in general. Just kind of consistency crutch, whatever you need. Octillery can grab at your local corner store on your bench. Um,
He is Uber Eats. This is Uber Eats Octillery.
Uber Eats Octillery. Yeah, you want that McDonald's, fam? You want that?
You want that McDouble, bro? With cheese, dude? I got you, fam. Just give me, you know what I mean? Just give me a, yeah. I like it, bro. I think this is a card that just should be in Rapid Strike decks because, like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, you're not losing anything by putting this stage 1 Pokemon on your bench all game and just consistently getting what you need, whether it's Mustard, whether it's your Urshifu VMAX, whether it's your special energy, whether it's literally anything. This card, I think, is going to be a staple in a lot of Rapid Strike decks. I could be wrong, right? It might not be needed in those decks, but I certainly don't think it's going to make them worse.
No, I don't think so either.
We'll move on, but I like Octillery a lot. It's also one of my favorite Pokemon of all time.
Okay, cool.
Also for the
cups.
Also for the tube mouth. That is, yeah. Okay.
Tube mouth.
The tube mouth. Okay.
Here we are at Crawdons, and discard a card from your opponent's hand without looking. I mean, if you could peek in your opponent's hand, I don't even know if this card would be playable.
No.
And we'll move on to Empoleon V.
Okay. Rule box. The rule box thing.
This is the one that, yeah, brought up the whole rule box thing that we were talking about a little bit earlier. So this would block the Broken Kingdra idea because, oh, actually, it's only your opponent's basic Pokemon in play. So it wouldn't even block the Kingdra. I don't know if there's anything that blocks the Kingdra.
Nothing, bro. It's gonna dominate everything in the game.
Just damage counters and stuff like that. But I mean, I think cards like that. This card's cool because you got the double Rapid Strike energy to count for a few of the energies. I like that this is water type. I like that you can attack for 260 damage against a fire type, like a Sun of Scorch VMAX. I like that you could shut off things like Jirachi. I like that you could shut off things like Zigzagoon. To me, it just seems like this card is good in some capacity. I just don't know how good it is.
Right. I think it's important to have a card like this. To be fair. So, it's I don't know. We'll see, right? If a single prize Pokemon takes over the meta, maybe it's Kingdra. Who knows, right? If a single prize archetype Pokemon, it's basic Pokemon in play. Have no abilities.
Yeah, not even single prize, just basic.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Mad Party gets shut down by this, but it doesn't because that's the attack in the attack description. I don't know exactly what Empoleon V will be good against yet, but I think that a card like this is very intriguing for the future of the format.
Exactly.
What do we at next here? Jellicent.
Jellicent, 10 times the amount of water energy in your discard pile.
Gross.
That one Jellicent and the Fisherman dude.
Well, you know what though? You know what? After, well,
Your Kingdra's, if you're talking
yeah.
about the Kingdra, I think the Kingdra would only run like 10 water energies anyways, or 12 water energies. Because you got to count for prizing, because everything's always going to be in play.
Wait, so
Um,
what would you ever use this card for if you just had like 30 energies in your deck?
uh, if you built a deck with like 40 energies and could somehow get set up, I could see that like 40 energies probably isn't even knocking out VMAXs
Oh
when you
no.
count for prizing cards left in deck.
Oh no.
Um, yeah, the Jellicent to me it just doesn't seem like it's it.
It's funny though.
Again, like
That's
I
funny.
think it's the same. I think it's the same artist as like the Grumpig. Somewhat like if you know the artist who drew these cards, Tomokazu Komiya,
Yeah, he's on
are
something.
you okay?
Yeah, that's
Like I
him in
need
the
to
boat
like
right now, bro. That's him in the boat.
just like screaming at his own nightmares, like
What's
man, oh
interesting,
man.
what's interesting, what we always see. This is a complete side note. It's way too late at night. Uh, when people are fishing in Pokemon, they always have a Pokeball at the end of their line. And I don't. Does the Pokemon like eat it like a normal fish, or does it just like, you know what I mean? Like, how does that work? I don't understand.
Well, if you look at the Pokemon Jellicent in front of us, it has those Pringles lips, Pringles mustache lips that it could just eat the Pokeball with.
Right, but how does that
I mean,
catch? How does that? Do you then just throw another one after you reel it up? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the goal there? Like, and why would a Pokemon eat the Pokeball? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But
they're catching some dumb fish Pokemon. I don't know. Like
yeah,
moving on. Bruxish. Bruxish is a terrible card. Do not play this card.
yep.
Um, we're moving on.
Luxray.
Luxray.
Okay. So lightning, electric slide for 1 lightning energy, 40 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Don't apply weakness or resistance for bench Pokemon, and then you switch it with one of your benched Pokemon. So it's interesting. It is also a single strike Pokemon, or a rapid strike, now that I think about it. So it's got that going for it. Second attack, Scar Beat, 100 damage. Plus, if your opponent's Pokemon has any damage counters on it, it does 100 more, actually. It is a stage 2 Pokemon, so a little bit clunky, Zach, but potentially hitting for 200 on already damaged Pokemon for 2 energy isn't terrible. It just doesn't seem...
Single prize card attacker. It seems like it's lacking somewhere. It seems fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not bad. And in the times where it is useful, it's going to be awesome. But for the most part, it's not going to be there for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean, this one doesn't seem bad. 200 damage for the single prize card Pokemon. It's better than Excadrill in some ways. Like if we're not looking at weakness, 200 damage for 2 energies is a very good ratio. It just there's a lot of factors that depend on this card, but
Right. It also is walking on water like Suicune. Next up, Pachirisu.
and this is kind of like a worse Drampa, I think.
Yeah, I'm not about it.
It's a cute card if you're a fan of Pachirisu, but
No.
next up is Claydol. A
Uh,
lot of the cards in this set, I feel like the Rapid Strike side of the set, on a side note, is arguably a better set so far.
yes,
Um,
I agree completely.
but
Rapid
the,
Strike
we-
is...
the weaker cards seem very weak. Like there's a lot more filler cards to make up for it. There's some kind of balancing issue.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, again, though, in English, they're all going to be in one set. So
yeah, exactly. So Claydol Power Split attaches psychic energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like until the number of energy attached to your Pokemon is the same number of energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. You could play around this by not having energy in play or having less energy in play than your opponent. I think kind of energy acceleration attacks that are attacks typically are not good, especially when it comes on Pokemon. Could be wrong. This might be one of the better ways to power up psychic Pokemon.
I think that if this wasn't from your discard pile, if it was from your deck,
Yeah.
this could be kind of busted. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It is what it is.
I mean, maybe it's a great way to power up some psychic Pokemon.
Oh,
If
what
you're
about
watching a video up it-
Alcremie, huh? What about Alcremie?
Yeah. Alcremie is weak to metal type. I don't like the fact that Bronzong is printed
But it
in this
works.
dual set.
It it works though with Alcremie. You could just tank for a couple turns against like Pikarom until they have 12 energies on board, and then you just Claydol. Sounds
I mean, if you let Pikarom have 12 energies in play, and you're attacking with power splits, good luck.
yeah okay. Moving on. Moving on.
Necrozma V. I haven't read this card yet.
I like this one a lot. I read it a little bit earlier, so I'll read it for you. Prism Ray.
Okay, sure.
You're doing all the reading, Zach. Let me read.
Okay.
Prism Ray, 20 damage. This deck does 20 damage to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So it does 20 to the active, then 20 to 2 benched Pokemon. Can actually be pretty decent if you're ever in that scenario. But also, that's the second attack for 2 Psychic and a colorless. 100 damage. If this Pokemon has any special energy attached to it, it does 220. So 220 for 3 energy is not bad at all. Especially, decks like this, you most likely are just running multiple special energy, so it's not too difficult to imagine that you'd be able to get a horror energy on this or a capture energy, whatever it might be, weakness guard. I like 3 energy 220, even though you do need the special energy. I think that's pretty decent. Yeah.
I mean, I think I like Prism Ray more than I like Special Laser, but overall, I think this card's fine. I don't know if it will find a spot in the meta, but I mean, I think it's fine.
I like it, man. Like it, again, I think if this card had something like a Metal Saucer, but for psychic energies, it would be busted. But that's just me.
I agree. I don't see anything wrong with that.
We'll move on.
Although the next card I'm excited about a lot.
Oh, baby.
I know you're an Orbeetle fan. I'll let you actually, Maddie, take the wheel.
Bro, Orbeetle is my life. Even though this art's a little bit derpy, I love this card. So it's a stage 2, 110 damage. It's a psychic type Orbeetle. First attack there for 1 colorless. Evo control for each energy attached to this Pokemon. You may search your deck for a stage 2 Pokemon, excluding Orbeetle, and then put that onto your bench. Like just straight up put that onto your bench. That's a very, very good ability there, especially since we saw so many great stage 2 Pokemon throughout this set review so far. This is going to be perhaps, and it's a colorless energy, so you can fit this into any deck. It's just going to be a very viable card in decks that rely on getting multiple stage 2 Pokemon out. Perhaps something like Kingdra or those Charizards from Vivid Voltage or whatever it might be. This card is going to be pretty good. Do you have anything else?
You could power it up with a triple acceleration energy to get out 3 stage 2 Pokemon, or a twin energy to get out 2 stage 2 Pokemon. So I mean, I just think Orbeetle seems like the type of card that if you can get out these Pokemon very quickly, there could be entire decks built around it, like kind of like how Meganium was good a few years back as well, getting out multiple stage 2 Pokemon. This card just seems like a better version of that.
I agree.
Summoning stage 2 Pokemon in play is no easy feat. So whenever you see a card that does this, especially for such a easy requirement, sounds very good.
I agree, man. Orbeetle is by far the best Pokemon ever of all time, so it makes sense that this card would be good. I'm gonna not look at Onyx because it's terrible, and Marowak.
We're looking at Marowak. 90 flip 2 coins. We're also not going to look at Marowak. Damage done to this Pokemon reduced by 30. I mean, again, like we said, the weaker cards in this set are very weak.
Yes.
Conkeldurr, 90 damage. The defending Pokemon's evolved. They can't attack during your opponent's next turn. That's fine. I mean, and then 150 for 4. This is very close to not being talked about. The only thing that's giving it any kind of anything is Hammer Pressure. Hammer Pressure to me is a card that, like, you'll just never get out a Conkeldurr and have 3 energies on it. Even if you use Orbeetle, I don't see, you'd have to get like a twin energy and like a karate belt on this Pokemon just to do a mediocre effect that your opponent could play switch and just get out of. So,
exactly. The switch is what gets rid of that sort of effect, right? So why?
So
yeah. Okay.
I don't. Yeah. No.
Me and Xiao. So this is another rapid strike one. So pound for 20, and then spinning whip for 90. So your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. I like cards like this, mainly just because it's like a hit and run tactic, and we do have some wall cards, right, that you can move back up into the active spot. It might be a little bit awkward to run this in like Decidueye and stuff like that, since it does have like the fighting energy in its attack cost. But the idea is I don't know, actually. Now that I think about it, why would you even do this? Maybe Altaria. Maybe this is like a decent option to pair with Altaria. You can do 90 and then go into Altaria. I don't know, Zach. Do you have any idea?
I mean, I think that Mian Chao is one of those cards. We saw a card like this. There's another stage 1 card that does the same thing as this kind of, I think, right? It does 90. It's not a Celigor, is it?
It might be Excelgor, but I know it exists already.
There's definitely something that exists very similar to this card, and it saw very light play. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think the Mian Chao is going to see a lot of play. Sure, it gets benefit from the special energy. So you could use Special Whip
Oh, in
over
one
and over
turn.
again.
Yeah.
But I don't know if 90 and Confuse is where it's at.
No, I think it's not terrible. Just because I think Pokemon that have that attack effect will see some use in some decks, but overall it's not good. And give this one like a 4. I like how like we sometimes we give the cards like numbers to rank them, but like we haven't been doing it all. Like we just do it like once every 20 minutes.
I'd say Mian Chao gets like a 5.
Okay, all right.
It's in the middle.
Sandaconda. Do we want to even talk about this? Discard 6 cards from the top of your deck. Does 60 damage for each fighting energy. What can this be? I mean, other than just stacking a bunch of energies in your deck, I guess maybe you could use like Rotom Phone with this.
I mean, Rotom, it doesn't really change too much
because it shuffles.
Like,
yeah,
it would shuffle the rest. I mean, you'd have to stack your deck a whole bunch. Like, if you see someone once in real life play returns playing a deck like this, and they only play like 20 energies in their deck, you know they're cheating. That's the only way that I could put it. Like, Sandaconda is just like one of those wild cards. 360 damage to discard those energies just sounds like so disruptful. Like, think about all the cards that you'd even need to get this card set up. Like, you'd play probably Pokemon Communication. You'd play Silicobra, Sandacondas.
You would play eight of
supporters.
Like, 8 of these Pokemon just in the deck. Yeah, and the supporters and everything.
Yeah, so you probably, like, at bare minimum, you'd have to play like 30 cards to make your deck functional. And if you played 30 energy, I mean, like, if you played 30 energies, you're not hitting that much.
It might be one of those funny decks, like you just kind of play on the ladder, and you're like, I'm gonna just see if I can one shot something with freaking Sandaconda tonight, and laugh at them, and then forfeit the game after.
If this was a basic, I think it'd be broken.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay,
no.
Moving on. It is a holo though, which is kind of disappointing. We have a new Phalanx, Zach. So Phalanx here. It's a Rapid Strike Phalanx. For fighting in a colorless, Rapid Strike formation, 20 damage. This attack does 20 damage. 20 times damage. So 20 more damage for each of your Rapid Strike Pokemon in play. So at the most, for 2 energies on a basic Pokemon, you are doing 120. Nice. Okay.
Adios.
Later, brother. Okay, now we're on to the good old Rapid Strike Urshifu V in VMAX, Zach.
I know that you're hyped way more about these cards than I am, so I'll totally take the wheel here.
To me, this is going to be one of the best VMAXs in the game when it comes out. And I did a bunch of math. I kind of like worked it all out in my head, and there's a lot of scenarios where it could be very good, specifically the VMAX. But I guess just to look at the V for a second, Strafe, 1 energy, 30 damage. You may switch this with one of your bench Pokemon. It's whatever, 3 energies, 150. Who cares? The VMAX though. So Gale Thrust for 1 fighting energy. Keep in mind this Pokemon has a retreat cost of 2 and an HP of 330. 1 energy, Gale Thrust, does 30 damage, and if this Pokemon is moved from your bench to your active spot this turn, it does 150. Now, keep in mind that fighting type Pokemon are in a very good spot in the meta right now. They hit for weakness against Eternatus, Pikarom, although Pikarom is running Mewtwo, I understand. Overall, I just find that this attack to be very good right now. Especially, you can run things like Karate Belt, do it for no energy. You can run Dojo, and potentially just one-shot Eternatus with this. I think that it's an incredible attack, and it's almost 2-hit KOing mostly everything in the format with some damage modifiers like Zigzagoons or Leons. And for 1 energy on a Pokemon with 330 HP, definitely very, very good indeed. But if we take a look at that second attack, okay, well, this is the icing on the cake, Zach. 2 fighting and a colorless, and again, we'll look at the special energy for Rapid Strike Pokemon, but it's pretty much 2 energies at once. You discard all energy from this Pokemon, and this attack does 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, any of them, and you don't apply weakness or resistance. So I kind of want you to think about a scenario to where, maybe you're playing against tag teams. Like, this card would be very good against tag teams as well. You hit for that 150 for the first energy, and then maybe you do it again, right? While you're setting up an Urshifu on your bench.
Sure.
Maybe you play Boss's Orders and you hit 2 tag team Pokemon for 150. Next turn, with your second Urshifu VMAX, you do 220 to both of those, effectively taking 6 prize cards in one attack.
Could be huge.
Could be huge. I think the potential is just crazy. And personally, I feel like this card will be better than Colossal VMAX. That's just my opinion. Zach, you play Colossal, so you know more than me. But I'm going to be playing this card a lot, and I want you to go now. Give me all your info. Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, I don't necessarily think you're wrong. Gale Thrust has been an attack that we've seen in a lot of successful cards. Even like Raichu and Raichu moving from the bench to the active, Zapdos moving from the bench to the active, Golisopod moving from the bench to the active. That effect for a single energy or any amount of energy has always been strong. Gmax Rapid Flow, especially when you pair it with cards like Telescopic Sight or damage modifiers, can definitely do a lot of things. I mean, sniping and Gale Thrust, I mean, I think it sounds really good.
I just love this card. I just really like its the notion of it. And I mentioned this earlier in the video. I don't love Pokemon that just go for like huge one-hit KO attacks or just do, you know what I mean, like very basic attacks that do a lot of damage. I like the options that you have. I think that's a big reason why Raichu and Alolan Raichu is so good, mainly for the paralysis. But the fact is that we have plenty of different ways to switch in and out now. We have Escape Rope now, we have Switch, we have Bird Keeper, we have Air Balloon because its retreat cost is 2. I think that this card is just phenomenal. I think 330 HP is phenomenal when you do have the Stone Energies. And I think that weakness to Psychic is not a huge deal, especially since you can run Jirachi GX to get rid of that weakness. So, yeah.
Seems huge.
I love it, man. I absolutely love this card. Do you got anything else to say about it?
I mean, I think it's just this is so much better than the other Urshifu VMAX that it's just, yeah.
I know, especially since like you don't like. There's nothing involved with it. Like, you literally evolve into it, and for 1 energy, you're just off to the races. And yeah, maybe you have like some switching cards. Whereas the other one, you need all of these different damage modifiers. You need all these Pokemon to accelerate energy to it. This guy, I think the special Rapid Strike energy puts this thing over the top. Like, basically two attachments away, just 2 turns away from getting those 3 energies consistently, and doing 220 to 2 Pokemon. I think it's just disgusting. I love it. We'll move on though.
Sure.
Sorry if I just went like super ham on that.
Oh no, you're okay. Steelix has been here. I pulled it up on my screen.
Okay.
It's 80, flip 2 coins, 80. Even for 3 energies, they're just making it pretty rough. Doing 160 damage if you get 2 heads is rough, and then 5 energies for 200 is just way too low. So I think we're gonna pass on this one. Moving on to Bisharp, and Bisharp looks like a card that we're probably going to move on very quickly as well.
Was it 90 if your opponent's active Pokemon is a metal type? Does 90 more? Is that what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So
okay, the next one here also, Zach, I'm really excited about. Even though it might not be super good, I love this card. So
sure.
Corviknight V, 210 HP here. It's got a retreat cost of 1, which isn't bad at all. Weak to fire, which does suck, but coding energy is a thing. Clutch is its first attack. Defending Pokemon can't retreat during their next turn, does 30 damage. And then the next one for 2 metal and a colorless, Sky Hurricane, 190, and then you can't do it next turn. Super average. You play this to get into the VMAX. Not only is this one of my favorite looking VMAX cards of all time, it seems actually pretty playable. So it's got 320 HP, and it's got the ability Luster Body. Prevent all effects of your opponent's abilities done to this Pokemon. Zach, you're much more big brain than I am, so you'll have to go through some scenarios where this could be useful. But that attack there, 2 metal and a colorless, does 240, and then you can't do it next turn. So very similar to a Zacian attack, but it's a VMAX. Still, I think it's a good a good, definitely an incredible attack, especially Zach. And I don't know if you noticed, it's got a free retreat cost.
Free retreat cost. It works with the Bronzong that we saw above as well. So you could just like have 2 Corviknight in play, 3 energies,
Yes.
swap them back and forth like
Every turn, man.
Splits.
Zach. Oh my God, I love this card. Can you
I don't
explain
know. It's
the ability? So like, do you know any
so
sort of?
prevent all effects of your opponent's abilities onto this Pokemon. So things like
Does this block Mewtwo?
does it? This would not block Mewtwo because it's not an ability done to that Pokemon. It's an attack done to that Pokemon.
But it uses the ability to do the attack, but that doesn't matter.
No.
Okay.
This would block things like Galarian Slowbro V, doing poison to this Pokemon, and then it would block the Toxicroaks again, even though that it would never get to that point. Just anything that would target the Corviknight. So it's just one of those things where like
Keeps it stable, right?
Zigzagoons can't do things.
Wow. Yeah. Again, and I think with Coding Energy, this is a deck where, Metal Saucer works with this deck. The Bronzong we saw works with this deck. The free retreat is nice. You have Coding Energies. I think that this is by far the best Metal type VMAX Pokemon. Again, I still think Zacian's probably a better card overall. Probably we'll see more play, but personally, I'll be playing a lot of Corviknight VMAX when it comes out.
And I'd have to look at some of the Metal Pokemon VMAX that we've seen in the past. Like we've seen the Copperajah, and we've seen the Aegislash VMAX and Scizor. I'd have to look and see exactly. Like those cards have been so stale. But with Bronzong kind of adding more to Metal type Pokemon in general, before I call it like the best, I'd have to see what else exists.
Yeah, I mean, Aegislash is good. Copperajah is just a worse Scizor, I believe. It's literally the exact same card except Scissor's better. I don't know. I'm high on this card, but again, it will probably fall down to the depths of the meta, and no one will play it. But a card that I love.
Sounds good. Where are we at now? There's Prugly.
No.
Draw 3 cards if heads this Pokemon's asleep. It does have Catterday, which should be noted. There is, which is really you could attack for free, I guess.
Yeah, Catterday. Yeah.
I don't think you want to draw 3 cards with Prugly for free, but it is an option. Bouffalant, it does an extra 60 damage to grass Pokemon. I think that's cool. 120 damage. This Pokemon does 30 damage to itself. I was going to say that a deck like this would be great to play, or a card like this would be great to play in a welder-based deck. But it's one of those things where you don't care about doing extra damage to grass Pokemon when you're a fire type deck. I don't really know where Bouffalant fits in, but doing 180 for 3 is not terrible.
Yeah, Sap Sipper, it's cool. Like that's a VGC ability, so it's cool to see it in the TCG. But yeah, I mean it's a card that it's there.
It exists.
Yeah, it's not terrible. I just don't know if it's ever something that like you would like play this over other cards, right? But okay.
Then there's
Entei.
in DD.
Draw 2 cards, 10 damage. This attack does 10 times the amount of the number of cards in your hand. So
I mean, even if you had 20 cards in your hand, it's doing 200. And when do you ever have 20 cards in your hands?
I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna hard pass on this guy.
Sure.
I do like
Billowing Fan.
I like the Sinistea cameo though in the art.
Sinistea and Poltegeist are some of my favorite Pokemon. I mentioned it a few times before in the past, but like I'm a little bit of a hype beast clothing collector in the fact that there's like kind of authentic and non-authentic forms of the Poltegeist and Sinesteas is very interesting to me, especially as like someone who not like collects clothes but has a decent collection.
Yeah. It's definitely super cool in the games, especially like if you were to get a shiny Poltegeist that is the official one with like the mark on it, that's just super hype, like incredible hype. But okay.
So here we are at the final stretch. We're at like the final 10 cards.
We got this.
Billowing Fan's a card that we've seen before. It's one of those things where we've covered it before. Returning a special energy card from your opponent's Pokemon to the bottom of their deck is huge. Crushing Hammer, we've already seen how it's been a terror on our format for a while now. It's one of those things where just returning a special energy card is huge. Special energies are huge. I think this card's going to be great, especially that it's Rapid Strike and searchable by that Octillery.
Yeah. Do you think that this puts some decks over the top that are strictly focused on energy denial? You know, like I know that like Dragapult now is super big on just denying energy between hammers. Yell Grunt and what is Lycanroc, right? Do you think that this is just like gonna make those decks better, or do you think it's a card that you would just put in like maybe like welder decks or something to get rid of the coding energies? Like, what do you think that this is gonna be played in the most of?
I mean, I think any deck that plays Octillery should at least be running a copy of this, just for weird situations where your opponent has a
Yeah.
special energy.
Okay. So
I
it's
think
like a
that's
one-of.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think in those type of decks, I think that in any deck that runs energy denial already, this is always going to be an option. Will a deck like Dragapult energy denial deck play this? Yeah, it could probably run, depending on how many special energies are in format or how special energies react to Billowing Fan just being a card, because we haven't had an Enhanced Hammer for a while now. So that means that like all those speed lightning energies are just like, yeah, sure, you could get them off with Crushing Hammer, but it's the same odds as just me having a basic lightning. So we might see decks switch to play more basic energies, especially like Eternatus variants and stuff like that, if those are still around. So I think Billowing Fan is just,
Yeah.
it's very meta dependent on how people react to Billowing Fan existing.
Right.
The first couple of weeks, I would just say that you could probably play Billowing Fan in a greater capacity, and it will probably dwindle to at most probably 3 copies in an energy denial deck, but probably 2 copies, and then sometimes as a one of in random decks.
For sure. Zach, I do want to mention though, like special energies are incredibly common and incredibly good right now in the format. Between speed energy, horror energy, hiding energy, stone energy, and now the new rapid and single strike energies. I just think that they're extremely common. So I think, Billowing Fan, like you said, it might deter people away from running so many special energies, but I think it's probably just going to have like the inverse effect where people are still going to run the special energies, but this card is just going to be really good. We'll move on.
Energy Recycler is a card that we've had in the past,
Yep.
shuffling 5 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. There's going to be some decks that love this. This
Blowns?
could be a playability in Blowns, possibly.
Yeah.
It could be played in a few decks. Any deck that has a lot of energies in its discard pile can just get them back. I think that's huge for some decks. Other decks, this card's just not a consideration.
Right, it's one of those very niche cards that's extremely useful in decks that need a card like this, but other than that, it's not a card that you would play, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have a card like this back in the format, personally, as long as it doesn't make Blowns ridiculous, which I don't think it would. Because again, you're running Fire Crystal, right? So it's probably not needed.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
I mean, we'll see. It's at least it's an option in the formats.
Right, I'm glad that we have that. And then Level Ball also, bringing it back, right?
Yep, Level Ball, another one of these reprint cards, searching for any Pokemon with 90 HP or less. Obviously, it's going to be a welcome addition into the standard formats.
Mad Party?
Although, I mean, Mad Party would definitely be interesting. I'm sure there's got to be a handful of cards that could be good to grab it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, man. Like,
so
what?
some of the cards that I could think of that you could grab would be Frostmoth.
Dang.
It could grab the Electrode line that we were talking about before.
True.
It could grab Magneton, the one that pops for this supporters.
Yep. There's probably yeah.
The Golbat Zubat that we saw that draws cards.
Great thought. Yeah, man. This the more I think about it, this is a card that'll squeeze in to decks, right? It will see play, and I think that it's cool. Like, again, it was in the format before, or it was legal before in older formats, and I think it's just, this set brought a lot of older cards back that necessarily aren't going to be like super important, but they're like really nice to have for a lot of decks that otherwise weren't viable before. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Cool.
I'll let you speak about Tool Jammer.
Awesome. You gave me the busted card. Perhaps the best card in the entire set. Tool Jammer. So, as long as the Pokemon that this card is attached to is in the active spot, Pokemon tools attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, excluding Tool Jammer, have no effect. Literally, I don't know whenever you would ever want to run this card. It's like Chaotic Swell, except it's like terrible and it's for tool cards. And I don't know why personally you wouldn't just run Tool Scrapper. Um, I I don't know, Zach. Help me out with
I
this one.
mean, okay, so I'm mostly in agreement with you. In the same way that you don't want to play Tool Scrapper, sometimes your opponent's forced to play down a Pokemon Tool on the wrong Pokemon. We've seen it where they want to put the Big Charm on there, but they already have the Air Balloon on there. So this just means that their thing is going to be stuck on them for a while. Um, if you could stop things multiple turns in a row, um, so your opponent might just play. If you discard their Air Balloon with Tool Scrapper, you could just discard. They could put down another Air Balloon. This would kind of lock them in the active. So I could see in some kind of control decks that this could be cool,
Okay,
or in a
yeah.
deck that's
Control. That bench locks
I don't
that
know.
tries to that tries to I think that maybe in the future, if Toughness Gate breaks the format after rotation with things maybe like Zamazenta, then maybe this card, we'll see more play. But right now, it doesn't feel like any tool cards are extremely good, other than maybe Air Balloon. But if a tool card were to become game breaking later in the format, then this would be good. But it's such a weird card, Zach.
Yep. It's a weird one. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be great. It's kind of awkward.
I don't know, man. We're
Um,
2.5 hours in talking about Tool Jammer, so we should probably
yeah,
just
exactly.
um,
Rapid Strike Scroll, Whirlpool Scroll. I think this is worse than the other one. I mean, it's not gonna be too difficult to get the three energies because there is this special energy that allows you to kind of cheat a couple of them in play, but doing 30 damage to everything. Obviously, this has some synergy with Urshifu VMAX. Maybe it's worthwhile to play one or two of, but I don't necessarily think that this attack's gonna be better than its first attack, or even just using its second attack.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's much like the single strike version, where it's very cool that you have the option to use this tool card, but the attack just doesn't seem. Uh, the thing is, like, you can't play this and you can't play Telescopic Sight at the same time.
Exactly.
Maybe if there's a Pokemon in the future, Zach, that allows multiple. I mean, we do have that, I think, but if there's like a valid Pokemon that allows multiple tool cards to be put onto it, maybe like a Pokemon V or something that has that sort of niche ability, then yeah, this could be super cool. As like a OP spread deck, but I don't know. I guess technically you could have this in your bag if you ever were to be in the scenario like to where with Urshifu VMAX Rapid Strike, um, you can just attach this on and then just take multiple KOs. The math might work out in a lot of matchups. We'll have to see, but it's a very
It's interesting.
yeah, it's like
Um,
yeah,
okay, moving on. We got Karina's Motivation. Draw cards until you have six in your hands. I don't hate it. I think it's kind of like Bruno in the fact that it doesn't necessarily bring anything super special to our format, but this is searchable with Octillery, which
good.
makes it very
Yeah, good
consistent.
point. Good point.
And
I
I
actually
think it's
like
just
that
kind of
idea.
like
Yeah. Sorry.
it's like Marnie or Professor's Research, where it's just like this kind of adds another one of those kind of supporters to the format, just to give us a little bit more opportunities.
Right. I think especially for Rapid Strike, the fact that we do have Octillery means that all of these Rapid Strike cards like work as one ofs in your deck, and I think that just makes most of these Rapid Strike cards more viable in general. So
Yeah.
I like that. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Jeez, it's to anyone who's watching up at this point and got through the first like 2 hour mark. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're trying to bring this to you first. Um,
We are. That's
but that's
literally what
okay.
we're. Yeah. I mean, it's important though that we do this. But
We
yeah,
have 4 cards left. And Mustard Rapid Strike stance. We've already brought over the other Mustard Strike. This one, the only difference is it's for Rapid Strike Pokemon. It's from your discard pile. Um, Currently, there's not really any Rapid Strike Pokemon I want to kind of bring from my discard pile. But kind of like the other Mustard, I think this is a card that's going to grow with age.
I agree. I don't think it's bad, and I think that it makes sense just to have this. And again, like you said, the combos could be really cool in the future if we ever, get to the point where it works out like that. Overall, though, I do think the single strike one is better, and I think that so far this is the only Rapid Strike card that's not as good as the single strike version of it.
Agree.
Cheryl. Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Cheryl. Heal all damage from each of your evolution Pokemon, then discard all energy attached to those Pokemon you healed this way. So this could be good with that Bronzong, right? Being able to take the
100%.
energies off, heal it, put the energies back on. That actually sounds kind of disgusting now that I think about it. Cheryl, interesting. Very interesting. I think it has a lot of potential, but also a niche card. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be very good if you're playing it in a Bronzong deck, or any deck that you can move energies from, or any deck that can just choose to discard energies from those, right? Because you don't even have to have energies in order to heal. So if you have some kind of way that you've already discarded energies or for your attack, or that you don't require a lot of energies, Cheryl could be absolutely busted.
I agree, man. Next up, we have the Tower of Waters. So this is the Rapid Strike Stadium. The retreat cost of each Rapid Strike Pokemon in play is 2 colorless less. Now again, Zach, this works with the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. It makes it even better. You don't even need Air Balloon. You literally just get free retreat by having a stadium in play, although you would probably run this Air Balloon. But to the same effect, bro. Incredible. It works very well with Urshifu Rapid Strike VMAX, and I like this card a lot.
I agree with it, and it's searchable by Octillery, so kind of having a searchable retreating mech. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff to go on with it.
Awesome, bro. Yeah, I like it a lot. Urshifu VMAX Rapid Strike looks busted. And then lastly, Zach, we have the Rapid Strike Special Energy. So this card only can be attached to a Rapid Strike Pokemon. Of course, while this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides water and fighting energy at the same time. But it only provides 2 energy at a time. That makes sense, which is actually still busted. So again, it makes Urshifu VMAX a little bit more viable. It makes it so that you can consistently get that second attack off turn 2, or turn 2 after, evolving into it, or even just turn 2 in general. Yeah, so, I mean, to me, this is much better. Although that single strike special energy, Zach, is good. Like, I like the damage modification. I think that is a very good card, but overall, I value multiple energies, especially on a VMAX Pokemon, than I do adding 20 damage. So, what do you think?
I mean, I completely agree with you. I think that getting double energies is absolutely huge, which makes Rapid Strike instantly the better kind of new mechanic or group mechanic in this set overall once we get our English set. So we'll have to see exactly what cards come out in the future, but I mean, I think Rapid Strike Energy is very good. Obviously, any form of energy acceleration or just double energies have been wildly successful in the past.
Yeah, man. I think again, this is literally, and the thing is, Urshifu VMAX is the only Rapid Strike VMAX Pokemon that we will have, most likely, unless other cards get released, which means that is the only VMAX Pokemon that has a double energy attachment option. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We did it, Zach.
we got through the set, so I mean, to anyone who watched all the way up to this point, thank you for improving our average video watch on YouTube. I really appreciate that metric.
Yeah, man.
If you just skim through and just got to this point, you win, I guess. I don't know.
You yeah. At this point, if you made it this far, there's a secret $100 waiting for you. Check your email. No.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. I want to thank everybody for watching. I think it was important that we did this, Zach. I know you're probably regretting accepting being on doing this video at this point. But yeah, man, I actually had a lot of fun, even though it's very late at night. We're probably both very tired. I had a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. And I think that this is going to help both of us going in to March when the set is released. We're going to know, right? We're going to know ahead of time sort of what the strategies are. And same goes for all the players or all the people who watch this video, right? They're going to be much more prepared going in to March when the set is released. So, yeah, man, I want to thank you, Zach, for being here for this video.
I appreciate you being here as well. It's always great to have someone else to bounce ideas off of. If you go through a set, sometimes you're going to miss ideas or not have that moment where you understand what's going on.
For sure, man. And kind of like an extra little podcast for people this week.
For sure. Check out the podcast if you haven't already.
Yeah, check out the pod, man. It's another hour of us rambling. But yeah, man, I don't have too much to say, Zach. Subscribe to the channel. Oh, sorry.
For sure. Subscribe to yeah, I was about to say the same thing. If you haven't already subscribed to Chill TCG, TheLoneBlown, or if you haven't watched our podcast, all of the things are going to be below in the description as well. Again, shout out to the translator at PokeBeach for allowing us,
Yes.
because I don't speak Japanese, I can't read Japanese, and the fact that moments after the set is released, that there's been 140 cards that have been instantly translated. Someone's doing a great job over there, so shout out to them.
Yeah, an incredible job, man. Makes things like this possible. And hopefully this video is well received, because I don't know if anyone else has done this yet. All of these cards were released only hours ago, and I think we hit the nail on the head, Zach. So
Until next time, everyone.
Yeah, until next time, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys soon.